So, good morning, everybody, and welcome to ATARC's GITEC Awards. The GITEC Emerging Technology Awards recognize government and industry leaders who have made significant contributions to the advancement and implementation of technological innovations. The awards will honor a person deserving recognition for driving towards government transformation while delivering results. So it's my honor to be able to help out with these awards. I'm the chair for the awards committee, and I appreciate all the efforts by everybody, and I'm very honored to be able to kick this virtual awards off. Normally we'd be in person up in DC, and we'd all be able to see each other's smiling faces, and I really miss that. And I hope that some of the news I've heard lately, that we'll be able to get some relief from that, be able to get back to seeing each other. But I love these a way of doing business with collaboration tools that a lot of us are really learning to use very well. Let me just tell you real quick about GITEC Awards. GITEC is Government IT Executive Council, and a few years back, GITEC and ATARC combined, and ATARC with Tom Suter being the founder and being the president, has done a fantastic job of leading us over these last few years since we merged, and we even kept the GITEC Awards that we've been doing for many, many years. And I've had the privilege of helping out with for many years and being the chair for the awards committee for the last probably 4 or 5 years. So thank you to everybody. So I'm just going to give you a quick welcome, and then the awards team members, I'm going to introduce you to all of them, go over the categories, and then talk just a little bit about the value. Just a sound check. Can you still hear me okay?
All good.
Excellent. Well, I happen to be down visiting my sister in Florida, and guess what? There's a hurricane not very far away. I'm just on the other side of Pensacola. So if anything happens, I have Denise Hill online to be able to help out, take over. So thank you, Denise, for helping out. But let me just tell you about the panel members here. So we got several of the government folks on the ATARC board to volunteer and help out. And we gathered all the inputs that we received throughout the year, and we're able to go through and have some criteria that I'll tell you about in a second to judge all the different award categories, which I'll also go over in a minute. But Denise Hill, I want to mention her. She's Deputy CIO over at the Department of Energy, and she has been fantastic. I think this is her 2nd or 3rd year helping out. So thank you, Denise Hill, one of the board committee members. Bill Hunt, he's the Chief Enterprise Architect over at SBA, and I think this is his 2nd or 3rd year helping also. Thank you very much for all your time and effort. John Johnson, who works over at NASA SOUP. I know SOUP has briefed this ATARC board a couple times in the past, and I've not had the pleasure of actually going over and meeting John over at Goddard yet, but I hope to in the future. Mike Van Wood, he's the president of MVW Consultants. He just recently retired as a senior advisor over at GSA, another volunteer that's helping out with this effort. And we couldn't do it without all of these folks. We also had support from industry. We couldn't have done it without them. Daryl Peak, the Google head of Federal Strategic Partnerships, was a help. He was the with me on a lot of items early on for this effort. Karina Holm, she's the principal manager from Microsoft Azure Government. Thank you so much for all the help that you gave. And then Simon, and Simon, he's one of the officers over at Attain. And thank all of the folks here that have helped out. And also, I'd like to, besides the committee members and all the support we got from industry, I'd like to also thank Tom Suter, Allison Cole, Maddie, thank you. And a cast of others at ATARC couldn't have done it without you, and appreciate all the help to make this a lot easier and to be able to do these awards. So thank you so much for that. Here's the award categories. You're gonna hear who won these award categories after we get to hear from several speakers throughout the day. And at the very end, you're gonna get to hear who won. So, and we got some really big, exciting awards here, as you can see. Government CEO of the Year. We had some great candidates. Very, very hard. I gotta say this, it's every year we get candidates that are just impeccable. They're unbelievable. They've done fantastic things for the government. And it's just really hard to pick who wins. There's so many winners, actually. And they're so close. When we're doing the scoring, it's extremely tight. And you'll see what I'm talking about at the very end, too. So before I go through the rest of the awards, let me just tell you the criteria that we used for this award, all these award categories. There's a couple variations, of course, but just in general, we had a couple things that we always looked for that helped us out. So one of them was the high impact. So it was based on, one of the categories was high impact. Contributions to mission outcomes. How did the nominee promote, enable, and implement, as an example for the AI one, artificial intelligence and data analytics solutions that contributed to the operational mission of their agency, wherever that was, or company. What did the nominee do to enable his or her organization to improve on the delivery of that mission? And these were all limited too, so they couldn't go on and for a long time. They had to be very succinct in what they told us. That was one. Number two was creativity and innovation. How was the nominee demonstrated new, resourceful, agile, innovation AI, as an example in the AI area, data technology utilization, what practices and processes, they needed to tell us about that. What unique, imaginative way did they plan a major solution in their agency? And then lastly, what was the positive and lasting impact? So once we heard that, we were able to start adding some points for each of these categories. And the third one, that on a lot of these, we wanted to know the partnership that was done. Was it just in your little area? Was it across your whole agency? That can be hard to do sometimes too, right? A lot of these projects were very difficult, but they overcame. And then was it something that was across different agencies? Did you bring in was there a partnership with industry on it? We wanted to hear about the partnership. How did the nominee actively collaborate with other internal and external organizations to deliver technology implementation value? What were the challenges, the dependencies, and what were the functional boundaries? For the Government Chief Executive Officer of the Year Award and the Industry Executive at the bottom and the Rocket IT Emerging, we had a little bit of a different category. Those are more leadership ones. So what was the leadership promise that was given in their write-up? Overall, what were their capabilities? What were the traits of the nominee? Some of that was from their bosses. What are the three adjectives that were used to describe the personality, character, persona of the nominee? We wanted to hear that. Creativity was about the same. Did they embody that in their leadership? Describe it. And then one of the other ones was individual improvement. How did the nominee seek to individual betterment? And did they find the ways to train themselves at higher levels of leadership in the IT community? I'll just throw out one of those. One of those is attending, participating in events like this ATARC, GITEC Awards ceremony event. That shows leadership, being able to help out with that kind of thing. So those were the areas that I wanted to mention. And here's all the different categories. Of course, where did these categories come from? Because these aren't the same as last year, and they weren't the same as the year before. ATARC looks at these categories and talks to the board members and all the people that join HARC meetings throughout the year, and we ask the question, what should it be this year for awards? What should we recognize people for? And we come up with these categories. These are tweaked over the years. We vote on them. We take out old ones. We add new ones. So this year it was, besides the government CEO and the industry executive of the year, representing, showing who that top person in industry was, we want to talk about AI and data analytics. That is super hot right now. A lot of companies are very interested in what's going on, and you're going to hear about that after I'm done talking. You're going to hear about that from a lot of other folks. Advancing DevOps. DevOps is just one of the smart ways to do business, and then there's the security one too. Digital experience. There's a lot going on in this area to make the job easier for not just the folks that are working in the agencies in the companies, but also the public out there at large, making it easier for them. Excellence in cybersecurity. If you're not protecting yourself, then you're really hurting yourself. And excellence in cybersecurity will show some of the best practices and different new technologies that are being used in innovations. And can't wait to see what's in that area. One of my personal favorites. Rocket IT emerging and future leader. That's who's the new person that's out there that's really come in front of everybody's view, that's just doing a great job. And we got a lot of nominees in that area, probably more than the others. Workforce innovation, we're all experiencing that right now. We need more innovation more than ever. Being able to do these virtual, when we used to do them in person, we always had people online too, don't get me wrong. But there's a lot going on in that area. It's a very exciting area, as a lot of us are working from home. And then I already mentioned Industry Executive of the Year. So what's the value that these awards bring? Here's the obvious one. The people that are on here that you're going to hear about, phenomenal work that they did. Did they share those accomplishments? And in general, yes, they did. And will that accomplishment, whatever it is, become a best practice that government and industry can pick up? That's another reason why we have these award ceremonies, is to share that information and let other agencies and other companies say, wow, we never tried that in our area. Hey, they used some new cybersecurity technique and got better results and were better protected. That's a best practice. It might not be named yet, but I just heard it from this other agency and they were successful with it. I want to know more about it. And the companies are always out there giving those new tools and new processes and procedures, and it's done within an agency too, but we get a lot of help from our industry partners out there. And that's what HARC's all about, and that's what the GITEC was all about. This also, when you say, hey, you did a great job, I want to recognize you, and it doesn't have to be right here with this award ceremony, but it encourages future effort for folks to go and do, work harder and find those new techniques and come up with innovations and make it better for everybody. So it encourages others. When I hear about it, I'm encouraged. Wow, I want to try that. And then, as I've been kind of talking about the whole time here, it moves the bar for new technology, processes and procedures, TPP. It moves that, and we all need that. The tools and the processes, and even the old procedures we used to use a long time ago, will not work now. When you go out and go buy something on Amazon or some other site out there, doesn't matter what site it is, you go buy stuff, you want that experience that you have at home. And I hear that a lot. And when it's not like that, then you get people that will come back to the IT department and complain about it. And then what do? We got to go find a way to make it like that. Move things to the cloud where possible, where it makes sense. Update the processes and procedures. Make it easier and better for everybody. And that's what we all need to do. That's the value that these awards let everybody know and show. And I'm very excited about what we're going to see here over the next couple hours with all the different speakers that we're going to hear about really cool things that they're doing. And you're going to hear at the end who won and why they won. So I'm humbled, and I really appreciate letting me be on here to talk to all the folks, and to be able to do this for another year, be the committee chair. So thank you. So Tom, thank you very much for entrusting me to be able to go and gather the right folks and we had a phenomenal panel that knocked this out of the park. It was great, and it was easy. You guys made it easy, and thank you. I appreciate it. Tom?
John, I can't, I don't even know how to express my gratitude for you taking this on. And John has always been in the ATARC GITEC world. John's always the person that jumps in on any kind of volunteer effort. He's like the ultimate board member. And I love your I love his enthusiasm. I love John's enthusiasm. You could feel it through the video. I can. He gets me fired up. I want to play for him right now. And but thank you, John. And I think you're actually technically on vacation too, right? Are you on a little workation? Oh, you got on mute, John.
I just on vacation for these 2 hours, but the rest of the time I'll be working remotely through a hurricane.
Fantastic, fantastic. Well, thank you, John. That's a great way to start things up. And once again, we appreciate your work and the rest of the teams. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Tom Suter. I'm ATARC CEO and founder. And we'll get right into it. We got a really fast-paced day of a lot of different speakers. It should be just fantastic. We've gotten so many great nominations. And the first person I'm going to bring up is my good friend, Keith Nakasone. Keith, if you want to get your video on and your mute button off. And Keith is the Deputy Assistant Commissioner at GSA. There he is. He's one of the most innovative people I've met. I actually didn't meet him in the Washington, D.C. area. We met down in Gartner in Florida. I guess that was almost 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. And we've worked together quite a bit on a few things. I know we've worked together on a few GSA events. I think we had one like last summer in Fort Worth, and then we were going to go to Boston this summer. Of course, things changed on us, but Keith is nominated for his work in advancing AI and data analytics. So Keith, take it away.
Great, thanks, Tom. I'm glad to be here, and so glad that we had this opportunity to engage. Private and public engagement is so important when it comes down to emerging technologies. And so as we talk about artificial intelligence and what we've been doing in and around this area, it is so important to have the engagement with industry. And so I just wanted to thank ATARC, thank our private industry partners that help participate in the conversational augmented intelligence and AI framework white paper that we developed. Alex Jacob, Ronald Schmelzer, and Kathleen Walsh was on the private sector side, who helped actually develop the paper. On the government side, we had Ellery Taylor, Monique Khan, David Tabron, Brittany Chapman, and Devon Bethia that supported me on this effort. And one of the benefits that came out of this whole situation of building the white paper was really raising that awareness on where government and private industry was moving with artificial intelligence. Raising that workforce awareness was a key benefit. With engaging the workforce, having them dive deep into the research and finding the benefits of how it can be used within the federal government, as well as private industry. The private engagement really helped us to understand the frame of reference of what private industry is doing and how we could apply it within government. Breaking it down into plain language, the white paper helped a lot of the workforce understand where we were headed, what we were doing, and the use cases that was actually incorporated into the white paper from a government perspective as well as a private industry perspective. The journey of AI will continue, and this is the beauty of the whole situation: is the journey starts at the beginning, and we're at the infancy starting gate, if you will. And this brings great excitement, especially within our IT category portfolio and within GSA. From this effort and from a workforce perspective, one, we've actually taken the white paper, we've started some training, retraining the acquisition workforce for understanding how AI solutions are built into commodities, services, and IT solutions moving forward. We've already adopted some of the artificial intelligence within our contact center special item number within the GSA schedules, some of our IT GWACs. Lots of the private industry partners are actually developing AI solutions and starting this journey. So we see great excitement around this area, and it all started with this effort from a private-public engagement. GSA is also working on the challenge.gov for the enterprise user licensing agreement. We're in the midst of doing that evaluation right now, and it's actually helping us move forward. And we're just so excited that we could be part of this effort, and we will continue our journey towards delivering and researching and doing our proper analysis in regards to artificial intelligence and machine learning. And this all started with this white paper effort and the private and public engagement. So I just wanted to thank the ATARC for allowing us to participate and giving us the opportunity to collaborate and work together. And we continue to look, and we also look forward with the success of working towards future projects in the coming year. Back to you, Tom.
Thank you, Keith, so much. And, you know, that's a little bit of a preview of what you get when you're in a working group. You actually contribute to the federal government. We have some fantastic leadership there, and then it gets applied. We start using it. So thank you again for your leadership, and look forward to working with you on the next thing, which will be anytime now, I'm sure. Thanks, Keith.
Great. Thanks.
Next up, we have Joshua Reaver. Joshua is the Senior Systems Engineer at the Naval Surface Warfare Center in Dahlgren in the Division Dam Neck Activity Area. Joshua was nominated for Rocket IT Emerging Future Leader. Josh, can you get online? Do we have Josh? There he is. Let's get that video going.
Yes.
Good morning.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you fine. I can hear you fine. It looks like you're almost in the office, maybe.
Nope, I'm at home here, but pull up my slides.
Okay. Get a little feedback, Josh, but okay.
Okay, well, not having luck with that, so. Can you see my slides by any chance?
Good shape. I can. You're in really good shape.
Okay. Hi, yeah, my name is Joshua Weaver, and great. So my name is Joshua Weaver, and I am a chair for the 5G and mobile networking infrastructure group under the Federal Mobility Group. So I'll go into a little bit about who the Federal Mobility Group is and what we do and what we've accomplished under this this group here. So the Federal Mobility Group is an interagency working group that was chartered under the Federal CIO Council. So it's kind of a community of practice. It's mostly volunteer workers from these agencies that are provided that meet regularly to solve some of the problems with mobility in the federal landscape. So we primarily concentrate on non-national security issues. So a lot of the work can stay at the unclassified level. A lot of it is for official use only, but there are also some public products that we have been produced, and we'll go over some of that here in a little bit. But as far as the group goes, it's been in existence for about a year as the Federal Mobility Group. There was some previous groups from the past that were kind of combined into this. But as a federal mobility group, we've been in existence for about a year. And since its inception, we've grown to over 200 members from 45 different agencies. So it really is an interagency community of practice. I mean, we've got, you name it, from across the executive branch, the Department of Defense is members. We've got Homeland Security, Department of Justice, NASA. So it's across the board, a lot of membership and a lot of participation, which is really great to see. So under the Federal Mobility Group, there are four primary pillars. So there's a group that's led by the Department of Interior that looks at mobile device security, credential management, device policies, those kinds of device management, those kinds of tasks. There's an acquisition pillar that helps agencies navigate through the arduous, sometimes acquisition processes and tries to simplify and streamline ways to get newer technology into the hands of feds sooner. There's a mission enablement pillar that looks at being able to help agencies use mobile technologies to meet their missions, their agency mission. And then there's the 5G and mobile infrastructure group, which I've been leading for the past year, that looks at the 5th generation technologies and tries to harmonize activities across the federal space and kind of reduce friction for agencies looking to deploy 5G technologies. So within the federal government, obviously there's a lot of people doing 5G activities. The DoD is probably definitely the one that is highest invested. They're spending hundreds of millions of dollars with their program trying to do experimentation, particularly with dual use technologies that can enhance the DoD's missions, but also be rapidly commercialized and sold on a global scale. So there's I'm running out of time here, so I'm going to skip ahead to some of the products that we've developed. With the 5G group, we've put together a couple white papers. The first paper was an assessment of federal policies and regulations that impact the expeditious rollout of 5G infrastructure in the United States. So it's and that product is FOUO, but anybody in the federal government is welcome to view it. Please reach out if you're interested. But it assessed,
Josh, I think you froze up there, but thank you again. This is just fantastic work by the Federal Mobility Group. This latest rendition has been going on since the Digital Government Strategy in 2012, and it really is a great model where you really have government and industry and academia collaborating, and they're liaising back to our oldest working group. Anyway, we got a little technical difficulties. That's not the first time that's happened in this environment, as you can imagine. Next up, we have our Rock IT Emerging Future Award nominee is to Greg Loy. Greg is the ACOS at the Veterans Administration. Greg, you want to come on?
Good morning.
I think we got your audio. Good morning.
Can you hear me?
Good morning.
Oh, great.
We can hear you. Great.
Okay, great. So good morning. Thanks for the great privilege of being nominated for this award and the opportunity to present our project, Enterprise Scanning and Indexing, EPSI. Next slide, please. Yes, so for the VA, VHA, and our veterans, a large problem came when veterans were, well, it's large, they were at the same time really worthy. The Choice Act enabled patients to go outside of VA for care in the community, and this helped with wait times and delivered care much quicker to our veterans. The problem with that is that we had all these outside records coming back into the system that would pile up across all our 140 sites like cabinets as you see there. Internally, we had about a 31-page document that outlined the standards of work for scanning those records into our electronic health record. This then created obviously a backlog of those medical records needing manually uploaded, and eventually resulted in delays of care as we had patients presenting to clinics without documentation, as well as then duplicate test resulting happening because we didn't have the results. And a lot of times internally, we would go ahead and reorder those test results within. And then, you know, of course, facilities faced additional expenses through scanning contracts, as well as then additional FTE into the multiple millions of dollars on this. Next slide, please. So one of the solutions, obviously, is through EPSI and automation software, which eliminated the manual importing of those progress notes. Next slide, please. This was solely based on a veterans routing cover sheet. This cover sheet then, the key component was that encrypted QR code for HIPAA compliance. And within that QR code, it gave all the required information for that to be out. So I'm getting a lot of feedback, sorry. So the QR code had a lot of important information so that it could be uploaded into the EHR to the proper veteran. Of course, behind this VRCS is indeed the medical record. Next slide, please. So I'm only going to show, if you hit play on that for me, please, I'll only show for like the first should show play down there. This is actually a demonstration of the actual project on EPSI. Is there a play option for that? I think Alyssa might be running it. Must not be. That's okay. So basically, it was a demonstration of how the outside records come into the system. And to the left might be a play. To the left. There you go. Yes, very good. So there should be a. Oh no. Okay, never mind. No worries. Basically, it was a demonstration of the project in motion, and it basically brought in the outside vendor care provider documentations that come in through EFAC solution with the use of that VRCS. Once the documents are received, they're housed in a folder on the server of the VA. The automation software then scans the folder for the VRCSs. Basically, if there's no VRCS, then it places the file into a different folder and alerts the staff accordingly. If the VRCS is present, then the document is placed in a queue for upload by the automation software. When it's time to upload, then the QR code is decrypted. That again contains all the necessary information for the patients, proper placement of that outside document into the record. If it's unable to upload it, then it alerts the staff, and if it is uploaded, it alerts the provider staff and provider care team of that veteran that the documentation is there. So next slide. Basic steps. So rough timeline of events. For us, the project started in 2018. This was part of the VA AMI 10x10 certificate program. I'm certainly field-based out of Omaha, Nebraska. The efforts were underway with inside of our walls here and recruited staff to join the projects. We gave numerous presentations to multiple VHA, OINT, even VBA integration of the program offices. Of course, heard no's throughout many times of this. We eventually secured regional IT support, secured temporary funding for our pilot through VA OINT. That brought along with it a OINT project manager, which was key. Then the next slide shows an innovation memo that reinvigorated our efforts. This was very key for us because it kind of brought us back to life and kept us all on the same page that we were doing the right thing for the right reasons and right purposes. Next slide. Then we were able to secure VHA Mountain Home staff who volunteered to join those project efforts, and that brought a force multiplier, more ability to be out there and present to facility directors, VISNs, and additional OINT staff. We secured a VHA VA Central Office project manager, and then we brought on another VHA system in Minneapolis for the project. And it's ongoing work with VA OINT and VHA project management. About 2.5 years into this now, and funding project is still in higher discussions, but that's a benefit. And the common theme is the next slide. We never gave up, and with that brought us the opportunity for 3 pilot locations with thousands of documents being automated into the veterans EHR that's delivering faster, quicker care to and more efficient care to our veterans. Next slide. Just a brief acknowledgement of some of our team members. And again, thank you for the great privilege of this nomination.
And thank you, Greg, for great work. I love that. Never give up. That's got to be one of the all-time IT sayings there, because that's what we're going to need to do. And we've learned so much in pandemic, and we got the government to get through everything. So thank you, Greg, for that insight. Now we'll be hearing from the Advancing DevOps Award nominees. Christopher. Christopher is the Chief of Operations and Development DevOps over at the U.S. Transportation Command. Christopher, can't wait to hear about the work that you're doing over there. Welcome.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll go ahead. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you fantastic.
Perfect. Okay. So, yep, my name is Chris Christ, and I am with U.S. Transportation Command. I'm the DevOps branch chief here. And so I know that everybody has differing levels of understanding of what DevSecOps even is. So I'm going to kind of start with a brief overview and then go into what U.S. Transportation Command is doing today. So what you see here is DevSecOps. It stands for Development, Security, and Operations. And if we think of maybe the way that things used to be, we would have a development team operating in silos. And so we would have maybe somebody who has a requirement. They say, hey, I would like for a program to do X, Y, and Z. They send it over to the development team. The development team does what they need to do. And then once they think that they're done, they send it over to the security team. So security, as you can see, is somewhat of an afterthought when it comes to this stuff. And so then the security team does their thing. They may find some issues. So they may have to send it back to the development team. So it's a lot of wasted time there. Once the security team feels like it's good to go, they put a check mark on that, send it over to operations so that the product can work in the production environment, and then operations maintains that. But even they may find some issues. They could even find issues related to security concerns. So it's an ongoing concern here in that we have multiple organizations working in silos, or multiple departments, if you will. So the idea of DevSecOps is to combine all of that, to put it all together, to get the development teams, the security teams, and the operation teams to work together and to have a continuous, actually what you see here is a continuous loop here, DevOps. You may be asking, you may be thinking to yourself, well, where's security in all of this? And so security is actually built into every step that you see here. We call it baked in. A lot of times that is automated in a lot of ways in every one of these steps. So that's the idea behind DevSecOps, is combining that all together. So when it comes to the reason why I'm here today, DevSecOps at U.S. Transportation Command. So U.S. Transportation Command is a pretty large organization, a pretty large command. What you see here, the three symbols below it are our subordinate commands. Air Mobility Command, the green one there is SDDC, which is Surface Deployment and Distribution Command. And then we have the Military Sealift Command over there to the right. Each of these subordinate commands have many programs. So that adds up actually to 77 different programs that we're working with. So as you can imagine, each of these programs, they have their own developers, oftentimes their own contracts, which means their own culture, their own mindsets, personalities. And so that can be a challenge in trying to work to get all of these different programs to modernize their applications toward a DevSecOps methodology. But it does lead for some pretty exciting days. And so although DevOps can do a lot for the Department of Defense, I want to focus specifically on program collaboration and how we collaborate with each of those programs, of the 77. We typically start a conversation with them in an informal conversation. We get our DevOps engineers, our DevOps experts together with their leadership, management, their technical experts, developers, and we just start to have the conversation on where they're at. How far are they along in their modernization journey? And then we move on to some technical meetings in which we get our technical experts with theirs. We get into the weeds of the tools that we have, the services we have available in our environment, and where they're at in terms of the modernization path, if you will. Then we move on to a formal onboarding process. And that is a lot more complicated than you would think. As I mentioned before, U.S. Transportation Command is pretty large. We have entire divisions dedicated to operations, to security, to finances and support and policy. And so to get all these individuals together, which we were able to do, by the way, to be on the same page in terms of how an onboarding process should look for a program to come into our enterprise environment, that was one heck of an endeavor. But we've had a few successful programs go through the onboarding process. And so now they have a more structured way of moving forward with moving towards DevSecOps methodologies. And of course, we continue to have ongoing collaboration with those programs. So I've gone through a lot today within just a few minutes of DevOps and somewhat of what we're doing here at U.S. Transportation Command with DevOps. But if there's one key thing that I would hope for everyone to remember today, one key point, it is that although DevOps can do a lot for the Department of Defense, it allows for the Department of Defense to deliver capability faster than it does today. So again, thank you guys so much for your time. That's all I have at this point.
Thank you, Chris, and we look more from you in the future. I mean, you're kind of, I would say, the first third of your career, so we expect a lot from you in the future. Thank you. This is really good stuff.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Next up, thank you. Next up, we are going to talk to our partners over at GITEC, and GITEC has been working with ATARC. I don't know, maybe 5-6 years, and they've really. It's an example of a company that's a West Coast company that I think they're West Coast. Anyway, they come into the federal market and they really provide a lot of value. And, I think they were, in the beginning, they're like most companies, they're just getting started, but they are established now. And I've seen you all grow. Welcome, Andrew.
Hey, thank you very much, Tom. Great to be part of this great event. Very interesting to hear about all of these incredible projects going on.
Great. Well, this is Andrew Churchill. He's VP of Federal over at GITEC, and I'm going to turn the program over to you for a few minutes.
Fantastic. So real quick, for those of you who may not be familiar with GITEC, we're the longest standing resident of the upper right quadrant in Gartner's annual analysis. We've got about 90 customers across the largest business intelligence and data efforts in DoD, Intel, and civilian agencies. A lot of folks come to us when the challenges, scale, complexity, and governance requirements of their current projects get too big for the tools they have. So today, we've got the great pleasure of introducing Dr. Stephen Harrison. Dr. Harrison is a senior computer scientist, data engineer, and AI lead at DISA, their cyber situational awareness and NetOps division. He was nominated for the Advancing AI and Data Analytics Award for his work in successfully developing a knowledge engineering portfolio. The study was done in order to reduce risk for transitioning large AI. Results of the findings have been presented to the U.S. national ISO industry leaders, who strongly encourage further work in the international ISO at the international ISO level. Without any further blathering from me, Dr. Harrison, please take the virtual floor.
Morning.
How you doing?
All right. How are you?
You have any trash in there?
No, I'm all right. Thank you.
Dr. Harrison, take it away. I think you're live right now. While Dr. Harrison connects, this is Tom again. Hey,
Hear me now?
I think we're getting a little feedback.
How about now?
We're in fantastic shape. Take it away, Steve.
Okay, thank you. So I started this work. I'm going to follow along with you. I've reached a point in age where I have to have a bigger screen to look at here than my small tablet. But I started this work from a meeting at the NIST conference over in Gaithersburg. A number of individuals from companies and academia and government representatives, the federal government, met in the cafeteria and we're talking about the high risk and difficulties of transitioning artificial intelligence programs from one vendor to another, or if for the industry, if they purchase or acquire another artificial intelligence company, how things don't mesh up, and there's a great deal of difficulties in that. At one point, there was even a discussion on how there was a perception that AI has reached a certain level, and without interoperability, we're not going to be able to go to the next level. So when I took that back to the Joint Artificial Intelligence Center, which I was on rotation for over a year with there, And we decided, Jake is partnered with the ISO. We decided to go ahead and institute a exploratory standards study with the ISO. And that is as brief as what you see here is what I gave to the US national industry ISO members, the corporate leadership, as well as international. And I'll talk more about that later. If we could go to the next slide. Thank you. So we're going to break this down basically about the standards work, and the biggest area which we found for the knowledge engineering that came out loud and clear was ontologies, and I'll go over that, and some of the areas of standardization that we were looked at, and some of potential future efforts there. We've had some good spin-off efforts. Next slide. So what we started to do is we started having working groups on this, and to my surprise, we blew the bridge. We had over 250 participants, and I think it was like 249 or something that was capable on the bridge. So we had to get some additional resources. It was max capacity. We tried doing it in a meeting at the Jake, but we overflew the conference room when we tried to meet in person. So we had to try and figure out new, this is before the pandemic, new collaborative ways to try and meet and get the feelings and perceptions back on the knowledge engineering. So over a course of a year, we had several meetings at various locations and online through telecons. And I'll give you the results here during the following. And the next slide, please. So basically, just to give this slide some of the background work that's been done in the standards area, has been extensive work for ontologies, knowledge engineering, knowledge representation, knowledge management. So we don't necessarily have to create a new standard for knowledge engineering for AI. What we can do is basically package some of the existing ones, standards and efforts being done to basically be applied to AI to reduce risk from transitioning projects. A significant note on this is underneath knowledge representation, ATARC's work and framework for machine learning modeling transparency score. They did quite a bit of work on that, and I would presented that at the national level and at the international, and people are very thrilled about that. Next slide, please. So one of the big founding work that we discovered through this study was that we can break ontology into different levels. Top level has a standard, and it's basically the very, very top enterprise level of whatever the AI system or technology that you have pertains to. So it's foundational, it's very minimal, doesn't go into a great deal of depth, but gives a general broad understanding. Next level down is called a mid-level layer. Now, there was a lot of issues with this layer during the study. The Defense Intelligence Agency said, well, how far does the mid-level go down? And the Army did some great work, some follow-on work. It's still going on now, and I'd like to present that back to the ATARC there so they can give the email address. And person's name is Jim Schoening, who's doing cyber, which is also going to be applied to AI, mid-level ontology work in terms of standardization. And basically, the scope of the area is most of the time is the application area, and again, a lot of reuse is used for the ontology effort at this level. In fact, the preferred method that they're working on right now, trying to set what they call a foundry. So other government entities and DoD entities could go in and basically reuse this particular ontology if they want to interoperate with it, so to basically facilitate better collaboration. There's also domain-specific and problem-specific. So if we take, let's say, automatic driving, car that basically automatic drive. So if we look at the whole area of steering and obstacles, that would be a domain-specific. But if you look at a very problem-specific, like one example was a speed limit sign. In one case, I guess some neighbor decided to mess with one of the engineers there, and he put up a sign which said the speed limit was 45 on the road, but he put on the end of his property a speed limit sign with 35, and a car followed that. So trying to differentiate, that's a problem specific, what is legal, what is not legal, and what is to be used and what isn't. So that's called the problem specific layer, which we identified. Next slide, please. So within this area, we had basically discussion areas in the following topics: engineering, consistency, mapping, development. I'll talk a little bit more of each one: maintenance, representation, and explainability. Mapping is also a great deal on the international level been done by China. They head up the working group on the international level for artificial intelligence in this particular area, computational approaches, and they did quite a bit of extensive work on knowledge graph. And go to the next slide, please. So basically, for the engineering practices, there was some issues in terms of, well, what is knowledge management and how does it relate to software engineering and how does it relate to systems engineering? What are the common practices we were looking at? And another area that came up quite a bit was biases. Biases, the learning, what the biases are, the quality management protocols and passing on, and ethics is very high on the list as well. Being sure what the consideration is, if I have the example that was used, if I have an ethical model underneath AI model by the Coast Guard, which is different from an expectation understanding than a DoD one in time of war with the Department of Navy, then we need to make sure that this ethical model through knowledge engineering and ontology match up ahead of time for a complete understanding what the effects will be of the AI. Quite a bit of work of that. Also, just for understanding, there was quite a bit of discussion what should be standardized. A lot of folks in the different working groups didn't want to be too much bloatware, too much regulations. They wanted to be able to freewheel, but at the same time, they also wanted to make sure that whatever work's being done can be passed on and would not have gaps. In fact, I heard some horror stories where one vendor left and some members had to be brought back because there just wasn't adequate knowledge knowledge engineering in specific areas, and they had to bring and it wasn't documented well. Next slide, please. So basically, we went over some consistency techniques, and basically we had further discussion on top mid-level ontologies. They were all basically open and available. The issue for the mid-level again was basically agreement on which ones were, how far down that you go, and we seem to be making some progress on that side. A few more, sorry about the length of this. Again, the Chinese did quite a bit of mapping and basically in there and working that. There was a good discussion on governance and for the knowledge engineering, what gets put in and what doesn't. That has to be put on to the some form of agreement there and cooperation. Next slide. So just for understanding further, the study recommended additional research in the following areas: development, maintenance, representation, explainability of AI, knowledge engineering, just to further clarify in those areas. Next slide. And there were some areas that needed to be further refreshed. Terminology. In fact, terminology is one of the biggest areas we found. There was a large Air Force intelligence contract, and they agreed to use the definition of artificial intelligence and other definitions from the ISO because the definitions that they had were limiting the capability and the interoperability. The definitions and terminology plays a huge part, and the recommendation was that we basically follow to the extent you can the ISO whenever possible. And also give feedback to the ISO. So next slide, please. And basically more discussion on the artificial intelligence, what it is, how it relates, and providing knowledge basically of the ISO definition, as well as other ones such as knowledge-based and knowledge-based systems. We basically had a discussion, as I mentioned earlier, where knowledge management, what is the difference between knowledge management, software engineering, and systems engineering? Turns out they're all standards in each one, and it's not a case, as I mentioned before, of adopting or redefining what the definitions and what the protocols are, but it's a case of adoption to reduce risk. Next slide. So for further discussion, next slide, sorry. So basically the areas that we recommended that should be standardized is basically the ontology effort. We already have, there's one standard for the top level. There's also the Army's working on the mid-level. Engineering practices associated with AI and cyber, as well as terminology and quality, basically quality approaches for metrics, basically best practices. I know in another effort in the Intel community, I can't go into too much about, but basically it was best practices across the entire federal spectrum, and it made a huge impact. It really did. In fact, they launched a site on it, and it worked out extremely well. Just sharing best practices, best metrics, and best approaches. Next slide. So just to wrap up, I did give this to the national executive leadership of the ISO. Number of companies, major companies were highly excited about it, asked me to go on and present at the international level, which was scheduled to be in Versailles, France, and the pandemic had to be done virtually. We went ahead and gave it, and it was a great deal of interest by a number of international partners. China is now working with Frank France and France Incorporated, a number of Chinese companies, to basically look at term definitions and terminology for knowledge engineering as a next step. Terms of reference, they refer to it as. Now, provide my email. I'm no longer with the Jake, although I still help out there quite a bit in the cyber area with Jake. But I have started, it kept the AI. I'm now a doctoral professor and chair for GITEC University. So hopefully this work will be continued on through maybe graduate students and doctoral. Incidentally, GITEC just started a new doctoral program for a PhD in artificial intelligence if people are interested. I'll provide the email as well as this.
Yep. And Steve, we'll distribute this deck if that's okay, if the Jake would release it or whatever you want. And
yeah, it's already been approved.
And thank you for no problem. And thank you for your efforts. As a matter of fact, I was just thinking Steve's last day on detail was the last time I was in a government building at the Jake, and that's when we had pandemic. It was on a Friday, and by Monday, nobody went to the offices. Remember that, Steve?
I remember that well. Yeah, that was.
Yeah, I don't think any of us knew that would be the last time we would all meet in person. It's crazy.
Thank you. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you. Right. Next up, we've got our partners at Pluralsight that are going to introduce our next nominee. And I think we're going to bring in Duncan Hall. And we've got big plans for Pluralsight and in our reskilling and upskilling effort. That's a new effort at ATARC that I won't get into, but you'll be hearing more of in the future. How are you doing today, Duncan?
Thanks, Tom. I'm doing well.
Thank you. We'll take it away.
Thank you. So good afternoon, everybody. For those of you who don't know, Pluralsight is the technology skills platform. So we help the federal government in a couple of different ways. One of them is we empower IT leadership with data and analytics into the skills of their organization so they can understand their strengths and weaknesses and align their technology strategy to their skills strategy. We also help enable technologists to quickly assess their skills, understand their own strengths and weaknesses, and with AI behind our 7,000 technology courses, we're able to recommend a personalized training path to upskill as quickly and effectively as possible. So today we have the pleasure of introducing Charles Worthington, who is the Chief Technology Officer for the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. And Charles was nominated for the Digital Experience Award for their work on the VA.gov redesign. So specifically, Charles and his team did a complete human-centered redesign of the VA.gov website to make it easier for veterans to access and utilize information and benefits. So historically, the VA developed digital sites, online forms, and other products in silos, which resulted in a disjointed experience for veterans, fueling confusion and frustration. VA.gov now serves as the distinct single area of welcoming veterans to a wide array of VA's services and forms. Since its launch, the improved usability and discoverability of many of VA's core digital products has led to a dramatic increase in veterans using the site and a concurrent increase in user satisfaction. So Charles, congratulations on the nomination. I'll turn it over to you to speak more about the VA.gov redesign.
All right, great. Can y'all hear me all right?
I got you loud and clear.
Okay, awesome. Well, hello from sunny Versailles. It's beautiful here. Hope y'all are also enjoying the weather wherever you are. No, just kidding. I'm here in DC. Want to talk a little bit about our effort to relaunch va.gov, which really was a collaboration from across the agency. I'm just representing it here today, but the amount of work I did on it was very small compared to the work everyone else did. And did you all have the slides? Or I can just talk to it. Okay, well, I'll just
Better just go ahead.
Sure. I'll just go ahead and talk a little bit about it. va.gov, if you want to go there on your own mobile phone or browser today, you can take a look at what it looks like now. And where we are coming from, I think, is where a lot of federal agencies have been coming from, which is our digital experience that we were presenting to our customers was fragmented, and it kind of reflected the org chart of our agency more than the actual services that we provide to veterans. We were really laid out according to the different business lines, and each business line had kind of built their own part of the va.gov website, as well as delivered their own applications to veterans. And so the end result was a pretty fragmented experience in which a veteran would have to log in to, application over here to manage their health benefits, different application over here to manage their other benefits, and on and on and on. So much so that we had a lot of different brands, a lot of different ways to log in. And veterans told us that they found this confusing. They didn't understand, why doesn't the VA just have one place for me to go where I can manage all my stuff? For veterans, they don't think of the VA as this collection of different business units. They think of us as just one agency. And it's very frustrating to them when they find one part of our agency is not talking to the other part. Now, anyone who's worked in government knows that to actually deliver something like that involves a lot of different stakeholders. And so we've had to navigate many different stakeholders, many different priorities, but we've been able to build a platform which powers the new va.gov that lets us deliver features to all different types of veterans using all different parts of VA's services. And as a result, we've seen the customer satisfaction of our main digital experience properties go up pretty dramatically since the relaunch in November 2018. I know a lot of you probably check your customer satisfaction scores pretty obsessively, and we do the same at VA. So you know how hard it is to move those scores, and we've been able to bring our scores across the entire web presence of the VA from the kind of the 50s up into the high 60s over the past couple of years. At the same time, we're delivering more transactions. More people are using self-service to complete routine transactions with the VA, which not only provides a better customer experience, but also has some important downstream benefits. If somebody's interacting with the VA digitally, that means that we can process their request usually a lot faster than if they're doing it by phone or by mailing us a form or faxing us a form, things like that. So overall, the va.gov initiative, I think, has been a really important success for the agency. And on behalf of my team, I'm really honored to receive the nomination. Thank you all.
Thank you, Charles. I think you're one of these folks that probably could have won for a couple different, or been nominated for a couple different things. I know we've worked with you on the technology modernization. And I just checked with my team. We didn't have the slides, but if it's okay, send them to us and we can distribute them to the attendees if that's okay.
Sure, no problem.
Okay, great. Thank you. Charles Worthington with the VA. Next up, we have with us from our Advancing AI and Data Analytics nominees, Zach Swartz. And Zach is the Deputy Division Chief over at the U.S. Census Bureau. And we can't wait to hear what you have to say. And I heard there's a lot of activity going on over at the census this year for some reason. I can't think why, Zach.
Yeah, well, that is for sure. And I always start my presentations that, of course, the most important thing, I hope everyone here, especially in this group, has already completed their census. But if not, don't forget 2020census.gov to hurry up and respond, please, so that everyone can get counted. But really, I'm here to talk about, and I'm super excited about talking about our customer relationship management and really how we use partnerships, and particularly the technology in our CRM, to push the message of the importance of responding to the 2020 census to all communities across the U.S., from large to small. So we'll jump in a little bit, and I'm excited to kind of talk to you about this tool and system that we built for the census, really. So we go into the next slide. So CRM was really about partnership for us. How we used it was we wanted to make sure that we had 300,000 plus, that was our goal, 300,000 plus community and national partners to help get the message out about the importance of the census. We wanted to make sure that communities across the nation knew what it meant to reply to the census, what it meant to get the funding that was required and needed, the representation in Congress. And basically, we use this platform to recruit and bring aboard these partners. We were actually able to use our Pega CRM both in desktop and mobile so that our partnership specialists, and over 3,000 of them who worked with these community partners, could interact in an extremely easy way. They had an ability to put in all the contact information, had an ability to track the interactions with them, had an ability to engage with them over email, to talk about upcoming events, to make sure our events were documented, to put in RSVPs of those events into our tool, and really use it as an all-in-one system for our partnership specialists to track everything that was going on with our 300,000 plus partners that we were using. There was a lot of automation put into this tool to make sure that whether it was through email notifications, data quality, or just even address verifications, which is extremely important, which we'll talk about shortly, that all of that was in this tool, and the ability to use it was super simple. I stress that because we didn't hire these partnership specialists to go out in the communities because they were technology experts. We hired them because of their skills, their responsibilities, and their interactions in the community. And that's what they were hired for. So we needed to make sure we had a tool that was built for them so that they could actually use it and be productive that way. And of course, as you all know in government, one of the most important things we need from any technology is reporting. I can't tell you the number of times, as you can imagine, Congress or other key stakeholders wanted to know how many partners were in their community. How many partners were we interacting with? What were the events that were coming up that they should be a part of? As well as our own executive leadership when we used to be traveling back in the day, right? We wanted to see what the events were, where things were happening. And also, we use this tool during our response time to identify hard to count populations that might need some additional events, that might need some love and attention by our partnership specialists. So we really use the AI inside of our CRM to help us increase the count in communities that needed it. So we can jump into the next slide here, and we'll talk a little bit more as our last piece about partnerships and really what it was that we did here. From partnership engagement, really. So we really used it to successfully advocate on behalf of and bring on our 400,000 plus partners. Originally, our goal was 300,000. We're up to over 400,000 partners at this point. We needed to make sure also that we provided some level of customer care to these partners when they had questions. We wanted a consistent message that our partnership specialists were providing back out. So we use this as an FAQ repository and management system so that they could quickly reference the key message points that the census was talking about. And again, I talked a little bit about intelligent automation. That's really something that was important for us because we needed to make sure that the information and data quality that we had in this tool was accurate so that when we mailed and did mass mailings through our email marketing tool, that was a part of this and that we weren't getting the huge bounce backs that we used to due to just poor data quality or fat fingering. Again, we also needed to make sure from the different users that we had in this tool that it was customizable for the needs that they had. And in my opinion, we wanted to make sure that it was an enterprise tool. It wasn't just about the 2020 census, but it was about something that we could push forward with into the enterprise. And that goes into my last point about future value. The CRM platform is something that we're excited and we see as a success. We see as something that we can now take forward for the economic census, for demographic surveys that we do, because our partners are what help drive the response rates. And those responses that we get back, not just for the 2020 census, but whether it be for the American Community Surveys, the Econ Census, and others, are critical to providing the U.S. the information they need to make decisions about where to open the next business or where to put the next supermarket. So we're really excited about the future here, and I really appreciate the nomination, and I'm super excited to be a part of this event.
Thank you, Zach. That was very, very impressive. I know you guys have been really, really busy over there, and at least you're closer to the end than the beginning. And oh yeah, we had pandemic for even more challenges. Thank you. And I think you're in your car on the side of the road. If I'm looking into
We are traveling today. And the census is still rolling, so we're working on some numerators out here.
You got it. Great stuff. Thank you. Anyway, next up, we are going to continue with our census theme. We've got John Weiland. John is the product owner at the U.S. Census Bureau. John has been nominated for Advancing AI and Data Analytics Award. And John, we're on a roll here with Census. Thank you so much for coming today, and congratulations on your nomination. I'll turn it over to you.
Can you hear me okay?
I can. You're perfect.
Excellent. Sorry, I apologize. I don't have any PowerPoint. Anyway, good morning. My name is John Weiland. Thank you for the nomination and the opportunity to discuss the Census Data Lake. Today, I will describe the Census Data Lake and how it supports the 2020 census. Going forward, I will refer to it as the CDL. Before I describe the data lake, a little bit of history about the census. The census is one of the few governmental functions prescribed in the Constitution in Article 1, Section 2. The first census was done back in 1790. It was overseen by Thomas Jefferson. The enumerators were on horseback and they used papers and quills to collect the data. Granted, this was the best technology they had at the time. Thankfully, we have come a long way since then. In the 2010 census, we allowed people to respond in person or on the phone or by mail. I am very proud to say that this year, in the 24th census of the United States, we actually allow people to respond via the internet. Now, most people know that the census determines the representation in the House of Representatives, but the data does so much more than that. The population count determines where billions of dollars go in social programs. It determines where new roads, new hospitals, and new schools are built. The data is also used in research and news articles to enable the United States to learn more about itself. Now that we know the history of the census and why it's so important, let me tell you about how the CDL enables the 2020 census. With the introduction of internet self-response, the size and complexity of the data the census collects has grown. This created a need for a centralized and secure repository to streamline census operations. Thus, the need for the CDL was born. My team got to work and we created the CDL, which is a Hadoop data lake that's in the cloud. Now, you may think that counting people may not need the functionality of a data lake, but the CDL aggregates, collects every piece of data from the 2020 census. The data comes from over 52 systems supporting 24 operations. The data includes responses, cost data, pair data. The data comes in many different formats, including text, geolocation, audio, and video files. How much data are we collecting, you may ask? Well, we have millions of responses, and we currently have over 3.5 billion collection events and 19 billion pair data records, and we're getting more every single day. The CDL is central to all phases of the 2020 census. It tracked the first piece of mail that went out, and it will hold the final count for the congressional apportionment. The CDL provides data to manage the census and inform the public. Every night, it aggregates billions of points of data to produce about 100 dashboards and email reports that are sent to census leadership to manage the cost and progress of the census. The CDL also provides data for a mobile dashboard to inform management who are on the go. Granted, I'm pretty sure most of them are working from home these days. Most importantly, the public-facing response rate map is filled with data provided by the CDL. Since CDL holds all the data and has massive computing power, it is a central location for all census researchers to do real-time data quality verifications and process checks. This means that the 2020 census has the ability to do more real-time verification checks than ever before. In conclusion, I have two thoughts. The first, it has been a great honor to work with so many talented people to create the Census Data Lake. It is definitely the highlight of my career. Second, I can only imagine the confusion of the founding fathers if we told them we were building a lake in the cloud to help count people. But I am sure that they'll be very happy to know that we are currently using the best technology to make sure that the 2020 census is successful. Thank you very much for your time and your consideration for this award. And as Zach said, if you had not done the census, please do so. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. And to both of you, I did the census in the first 5 minutes that I got it because I just want to make sure that I took care of business. I'm one of those types of people. Thank you. Great presentation. Now we're going to go from data, I guess. Our next speaker is Scott Friedman. He's the Deputy Assistant Secretary over at DHS, and Scott was nominated for Excellence in Cybersecurity. Scott, please take it away.
Thank you. Good morning, or getting towards afternoon, everybody. Can you hear me just fine? I feel like we got all out.
Can hear you fantastic.
Okay.
We can hear you fantastic. Thank you.
Appreciate it. We're going to burn through this here. So next slide, please. So what I'm here to talk about is DHS's approach to 5G cybersecurity and what we're doing to engage with the community, both at the federal level, state, local, tribal, territorial, as well as industry. I want to start with just highlighting that the national strategy for 5G came out in March of 2020. And this was significant in that, you know, this is the preeminent document that the United States government is going to follow to try and move towards an implementation plan to help facilitate the 5G rollout and ensure that it's secure and resilient for the nation and all users, whether that be commercial or business. It's also important to note that this is the thing that we derive all of our work from at DHS, and we've been proud to be a part of it from its inception. So next slide. In August of 2020, we developed our own strategy. And I think it's very important that DHS highlight the areas we have relative comparative advantage and articulate that to the community so that folks really know in what ways we intend to engage in the 5G conversation and how they can best speak to us as this technology evolves. Obviously, we're at the outset of 5G development, rollout, and what is certainly going to be a long and interesting road to widespread adoption. And obviously the secondary technological innovation that will come from that. And so what we have here is a strategy that kind of outlines where we're going to play, and we are continuing to develop that implementation plan. Next slide. The core parts of that strategy, though, are really threefold. And it's risk management, it's stakeholder engagement, and it's technical assistance. And at DHS, what we want to do is we want to be able to double down on our core competencies and be able to articulate that to our relative stakeholders, whether it be in the interagency, in the .gov, some of our national security partners, DoD, or whether it be providers and carriers that comprise the actual technology owners, operators, and users across the country. At CISA in particular, we have a very strong capability in risk management, and that was always the basis of where we came at 5G from the beginning. Obviously, there's been a tremendous amount of conversation about this as we look at the future and what we want our technology and our telecommunications infrastructure to be. So when we look at risk management, we see it as a tremendous value add and something we want to be able to provide to folks as they go forward. They look at their CapEx spend, they look at their procurement decisions, and they look at the relative basis of how they're going to evaluate the technologies that they want to put into their networks. The second is stakeholder engagement. And stakeholder engagement, we think, is perhaps where we have the most impact at DHS and where we can kind of leverage the federal government resources to help consolidate around the perspective of what 5G is, what 5G isn't, and the best practices to move forward with the development and the rollout of this technology. At the end of the day, this has to land someplace. And coming out of a very interesting and engaging what we call the Rural Engagement Initiative that we kicked off last year, where we brought together rural carriers in conjunction with the Chamber of Commerce, as well as the FCC, the Department of Commerce, as well as some of our DoD colleagues, did a roadshow around the country. And we got great engagement from that, got great insight from that, and that helped us kind of dovetail into where we're going to go with our stakeholder engagement, which I'm going to speak to a little bit. And finally is the technical assistance. At the end of the day, the thing that is most interesting and most exciting about 5G technology is that it's going to fundamentally change the way telecommunication networks operate, function, and are built. And primarily, that's going to take us into a software-defined arena. And the technical assistance, we have plenty of analogies from existing cybersecurity best practices that we can apply today. And we want to be able to bring those capabilities to the forefront, highlight for those CISOs and CIOs and cybersecurity professionals that these are considerations they need to be raising to their enterprises on day one, and that security needs to be a consideration just in line with kind of cost scheduling, performance, and any procurement or development or deployment decision. Next slide. Speaking to the 5G products we have on the street now, as I said, we started with our 5G risk capabilities. So we have a characterization, we have market penetration risk factors, we have a basics fact sheet, as well as we've got a fact sheet out there now that gets towards some of the RDT and the efforts that we're looking for. And we'll speak to that a little bit at the end. But this is kind of a sample of what are some of the things that at CISA and at DHS in particular, we think are comparative advantages and how we can leverage the federal government as the great uniter to be able to get everybody on the same page and have some really robust and fulsome conversations that will be impactful for the relative stakeholders going forward. Next slide, please. In addition, we've got products in development. Some of these things we're looking at here, we're looking at sector-specific profiles, edge computing, getting towards that cybersecurity, that technical assistance, as well as refreshing our characterization. Next slide. But what I really want to hit on here is our 5G SLTT workshop series. And as I said, when we went out and did the Rural Engagement Initiative, we got some fantastic on-the-ground grassroots perspective from folks that are living this and having to operate in these environments every day. And what we recognize is that there is a balance here that needs to be struck between cybersecurity, technological deployment, business process decisions, and capital expenditure requirements. And so what we endeavor to do, and what we've kicked off now, is a series of SLTT workshops that will be held around the country, and now in many cases virtually, with various state governments, local governments, and municipalities, tribal entities, and territorial entities that are going through these questions and having to evaluate the relative merits of a lot of the things that are happening at a very high level, but ultimately are going to impact them the most. We are excited about this. We look forward to a significant engagement both from the private sector as well as our interagency partners. And we think that this is going to be one of the preeminent events that will allow us to kind of get that message out. Finally, just very quickly, I'm going to touch on slides 8 and 9. If you just click through them for me. In magnification of the SLTT, we also engage in the international events. And we think that a strong local engagement allows us to have a much more robust international engagement. And then slide 9. That finally, the real key to success here will be a keen eye on RDT&E efforts. And we look forward to continuing to work with our colleagues at Commerce and state, as well as the national laboratories and some efforts we have going on around that. So a lot there, but I appreciate the opportunity to present and an honor to be considered for the award. Thank you very much.
Yeah. No, thank you, Scott. And we're looking forward to working with you as ATARC. We have a 5G working group, and we're looking to open up a 5G lab in partnership with government. So really exciting stuff. 5G is really going to change the way we do business, and great leadership over there at CISA. Next up, I want to introduce the next presenter is a friend of mine, Tab Holder. Tab, you want to come on? And Tab, I was trying to look back. I think we've known each other. There you are. We used to run into each other locally since we live in Loudoun County, and I miss running into you. And I think we've known each other almost 20 years or so.
I believe
Looking
so.
well, my friend.
You know, we're giving our age away, but that's fine. Hey, go Steelers.
I think it's too late for that. Say again?
I said go Steelers.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we don't want to hijack the conversation with that, but yes, go Steelers. Great game. I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right, well, thank you, and good morning, everyone. For those of you who do not know, BlackBerry is known for providing governments with the software and services they need to secure the Internet of Things. And we do that by providing, by utilizing a robust set of algorithms and one of the most advanced artificial intelligence engines of commercially available. Today, I have the pleasure of introducing Brian Conrad. He is the FedRAMP Program Manager for Cybersecurity at GSA. Brian was nominated for the work he did as a FedRAMP Program Manager in the cybersecurity field. Brian plays a critical role in the program's mission to promote the adoption of secure cloud services by providing a standardized approach to security and risk assessment for cloud technologies. Brian, please take it away.
Thank you very much for the introduction, Tab. I'm grateful to be here. I'm thankful for the nomination. And so I'm going to tell you a little bit about what I do and what I've done. So as the program manager for cybersecurity, I oversee the team that works to promote the adoption of secure cloud services across the government, as Tab mentioned, by providing a standardized approach to security and risk assessment for cloud technologies. That's part of FedRAMP's core mission. In my role, I serve as FedRAMP's primary liaison to the Joint Authorization Board, which is the authorizing body, the CIOs of the Department of Defense, Department of Homeland Security, and the General Services Administration. So the JAB will set policy, security policy, to be followed across the program. And again, we work with cloud service providers that are in high demand by many federal agencies, and we support the cloud service providers in a collaborative approach to protecting federal information, from them submitting an application to work with the JAB clear through the initial authorization and on through continuous monitoring. So it's the from cradle to implementation across the government. We also work very hard to implement industry feedback. So a few things we did this past year that I want to highlight was something called JAB Interact. And JAB Interact was an in-person event where those cloud service providers that were currently working with the JAB in some capacity and the JAB technical representatives met face-to-face in service to increasing communication and collaboration across the board. It helps in clearing up misconceptions that cloud service providers may have. It allows the JAB authorized CSPs to provide feedback directly to the JAB technical representatives. And this was, again, for the first time that we got all of them into the room. And it was valuable for not only the cloud service providers to provide their feedback, but to also hear from the JAB technical representatives, who in some cases are making, decisions on the things that, they'll let cloud service providers do with regard to security. So overall, the cloud service providers and the technical representatives found JAB Interact to be very helpful and worthwhile, and it helped spur several important conversations moving forward. One of those things that we did moving forward is leveraging the perspectives of industry to collaborate on how we develop guidance to attack cutting edge problems. Okay, we understand that the cloud service providers are very deep in talent, and they have an interesting perspective. It's a multifaceted perspective depending on what the cloud service provider brings to the game, either if they provide an infrastructure, software, or platform, the size of their business, and the type of technology that they're implementing. And we realized that, and we wanted to capitalize on that. Excuse me. So working with industry, we were able to develop a process to get that information from the cloud service providers. And one of the tangible results of that, excuse me, is our container security guidance document, which we're hoping to publish soon. But that document the base document was written by my team, but then we had a technical exchange meeting with the cloud service providers that were interested, and we basically sat around the table and discussed the points of this document. We received input from the cloud service providers who were using this technology, getting best practices from them, because the goal at FedRAMP is to create policy, and I refer to our policy to cloud service providers as guardrails. We understand that, again, with different service models, different technologies being employed, different size businesses, we can't expect everybody to march down the center line of a road. So we want to set our policy as guardrails. The goal in keeping everybody within the guardrails, but which still answers the mail in protecting federal information. Finally, I want to highlight how my team helps drive federal cloud adoption. So our team values the power of partnership, and we demonstrate that in our work with over 160 agency and over 250 agency partners, industry partners rather. So those industry partners are not just the cloud service providers, they're the third-party assessment organizations as well, who provide that that attestation in the verification of the cybersecurity posture. So each year within my lane, I have a one-on-one conversation, hour-long conversation with all the JAB authorized cloud service providers to get feedback and their insights. And it's really valuable because it's a time for them to touch base with the PMO and the PMO to touch base with them. And they provide some really unfiltered feedback, which is really valuable and really insightful. By implementing that stakeholder feedback into our process, we've improved the JAB's efficiency and impact. So last year we did 10 JAB authorizations and high package uplifts. So that's cloud service providers that were originally authorized at a moderate level, but ultimately, wanting to change their business model a little bit and have a high authorization. Also, by listening to the cloud service providers, we've been able to reduce the timeline of a JAB authorization to less than 5 months. And that's a pretty big feat considering the history of the program. Now, when I say that 5 months, that is from kickoff to when the cloud service providers receive their authorization, their signed PATO letter from the 3 CIOs. Overall, our team's leadership in the space of secure cloud adoption has helped ensure that federal data is stored and managed as securely as possible. And I was just on another panel this morning, and they were talking about all this emerging technology with 5G and Internet of Things. That all creates a lot of data, but the foundation of that is having a secure place to put that data. And that's where FedRAMP is really an enabler to those things, because we have a marketplace just full of authorized cloud service providers that meet a certain security standard that can protect federal information. And with that, I would like to say thank you again for this opportunity. And it's great to be here.
Yep, thank you, Brian. I know you're one of the hardest working groups in government. I've been familiar with you guys from the beginning, and you've always got dedicated folks there. And I know you're always trying to tweak things up, and you're never sitting on your laurels. Really appreciate your work, Brian. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next up, we have, thank you. Next up, we have Avi Bender, who's nominated for Advancing AI and Data Analytics Award. And I haven't spoken to Avi since I saw a recent announcement. Avi, we're getting your video?
Yes. Can you see me?
Yes. I cannot see you.
Oh, let me just...
I can hear you. Fantastic.
Let me just try again, because I do have the video clicked. 1 second.
I'm thinking, let's see what we got here. There you go.
All right. Fantastic. Good to see you, Tom.
Good to see you.
All right. Should I begin?
Well, yeah, you can go ahead and start. I just wanted to say congratulations. I guess you're officially retired, right? Or you're on to the next adventure.
At the end of this month, Tom. So I'm still around.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure we'll be hearing from you in the future after this, but congrats again.
Thank you so much. So hopefully everyone can hear me. I don't have a set of slides. And if for some reason I break up or something, just raise your hand and let me know. First of all, thank you for the nomination. I'm very proud really of how we're transforming the methods of AI innovation at the Department of Defense, JAIC, the DHS, OPM, USAID, Department of Labor, FDA, HHS OIG, VA OIG, and I can rattle off a number of other agencies that we're working very closely with. Now, what's very different is that NTIS, as part of the US Department of Commerce, is delivering innovations in partnership with the private sector for the federal government as a whole to address national and global data challenges. And we're doing so without using a contract, without using an OTA, an acquisition, or a procurement. I know this will resonate with some people listening. So you heard that right. Because there are times when you cannot contract for AI, blockchain type innovation and solutions that have yet to be imagined, right? This is really critical. You cannot write an RFP for a potential solution that will be transformative that has not yet been imagined. So agencies are facing major pain points when it comes to applying AI. You can't hire fast enough, have sufficient funding, have all the experts and visionaries on staff, and then also expect to compete, frankly, with adversaries who are operating under very different rules of engagements than we are, right? They have different process and governance processes. So 4 years ago, as you know, I created a new business model within the authority of NTIS to deliver for the federal government and for the private sector greater agility, time to market, and scale. And it's an approach that's ideally suited to harness the wisdom of the crowds into a sustainable operating model that will go beyond my tenure. Rather than having agencies really work hard to frankly innovate at the margins through discrete siloed-based initiatives that may work, may not work, but longer term, the underlying design patterns and the great reference architectures that they put in place is not sustainable. So the business model is founded on something like really very basic, this, what we call the secret sauce. It allows agencies to have a much earlier conversation and discussion with the private sector about the problem and not the solution. I know this is kind of mind-blowing. We're not talking about like industry days and RFIs. This is a process that operates outside the FAR. And we believe that an early diversity of thinking among agencies and the private sector is really fundamental to driving innovation, period, within the government and outside the government. That conversation is really critical. And when you're talking about agile development, the agile development really begins at the problem formulation stage. And there aren't too many instruments within the federal government that really are well suited for what's critical for driving innovation. So the operating model that I've instituted under our authority has really operationalized an innovation process into our mission so that it's not just for NTIS, not just for the commerce, but it's really something that is available to all federal agencies to allow them to partner with the best and brightest and to achieve the necessary capacity to scale and innovation in a manner that is agile and frankly in sync with the pace of external marketplace innovations in AI and related data science capabilities. We came up with this approach because we believe that for a long time, we've been trying to really put a square peg into a round hole when it comes to innovation. We have to really fundamentally change the basic construct of how we approach problems and really think globally, nationally, as a federal government, not just as discrete business units who are trying to become more efficient and effective in how they run their operations. That's all very important. But at the end of the day, all of these agencies that we've heard today have really critical missions. And their individual missions are just ideal use cases, if you will, for driving innovation and true breakthroughs in really how we run the business of government. So at the end of the day here, what it is that we have. It's not an algorithm, it's not a unique technology, but it's a fundamentally new way to innovate within the federal government using not a regulation, but using an actual law that's available on the books to make that happen. And so while we work with many agencies, we're really hoping that as a result of this conversation and others, that more and more organizations will be turning to us to help them get the job done. I'm really honored to be nominated for this. You know, we've been at this providing great services to many agencies for the past 4 years. And so although I will be leaving government at the end of September, we have a great team at NTIS who will continue to deliver many of these capabilities, and I'm sure we'll run into each other in the not too distant future. So again, thank you for the nomination. I'm very humbled. Again, thank you.
Yes, thank you, Avi, for your service, and I'm sure we'll be in touch. Next up, we have Wayne Clark, and Wayne has been nominated for the Workforce Innovation Award, which is going to be a very major emphasis of ATARC in the end of this year and next year. And Wayne is the chief of the U.S. Transportation Command in the Cyber IT Workforce Management Branch. Welcome, Wayne.
Thank you, Tom. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you. We don't have video, but that's okay if you don't have it.
Oh, that's fine. I've got slides, so I'll just work on the slides. Thank you all for the opportunity to present this morning and for the nomination for the award. I was rather surprised until I was contacted by Allison. I really didn't know that I had been submitted for the award. So if you'll give me a few minutes of your time, I'll try to go ahead and take you through what Scott's Cyber Leadership Council is all about. I'm not seeing a slide.
Wayne, we don't have your video right now. Are you going to share some slides?
Let me see if I can do that.
There you go.
All right.
All yours.
Well, I'm sorry, go ahead. Okay, so you can see my slides and you can hear me, right?
I can. Yep, we're all set.
Okay, great. So Scott's Cyber Leadership Council was established based on the vision of former Director, Brigadier General Lyman. And the whole idea was to bring the cyber community, the DoD cyber community here to Scott together to discuss and focus on our common needs. The purpose of the Cyber Council was to create an enduring mechanism for Scott's DoD cyber community leaders to collectively address talent and acquisition and professional development needs. What that means is we were all working in different vacuums. So we have 11 different organizations here and that we're all doing the same thing. We're all focusing on the same things, but we were focusing on them separately. What the Cyber Leadership Council has done is brought those entities together to work as one towards common goals and work as a collaborative group versus independence. The council's role is to adapt and spread a partnering mindset and culture throughout the cyber community here at Scott, not just within the Air Force or within the different agencies that are out there, but for all of us to collectively come together and establish common priorities, commit resources to doing the things that were necessary to enhance the cyber community and the cyber workforce in particular, and maintain momentum by holding participants accountable. So accountability and transparency were extremely important, us being able to work together versus working in stovepipes and trying to get things done. And then we would monitor the results through the council meetings and get back with the council members to let them know what is exactly what we were able to accomplish. We included representatives from key stakeholder organizations, which are the Leadership Council themselves. And we're also looking at bringing the community in. And we've already reached out and partnered with some of the colleges and universities in the local area. And we expect at some point we'll be able to reach out to industry as well. We worked collectively together and established 2 separate working groups to focus on 2 priorities that came out of the initial meeting that we had back in July of 2019, which was recruitment and professional development. The CLC monitors the efforts of the 2 working groups. I facilitate not only the CLC meetings, but also the recruitment working group and the professional development working group. And since we started this whole process, we have merged the two working groups into one, because we got to a point where we had established our priorities and established what we were going to do with each, and kind of brought them together to work on some common goals. For recruitment, we wanted to leverage our shared influence with the local cyber community for talent acquisition. So we're all battling to try to hire the same people. So what we did is we came together and we decided we were going to work together to do job fairs and do recruitment of interns and possibly share interns through the intern process by having them work in different organizations and get a taste and flavor for each organization they hear at Scott, and let them decide when their time came to select a hiring organization that they would be able to have some experience or some knowledge about the organization rather than just hearing a name. We wanted to align our collective pipeline with the region's production of cyber talent. So we really want to plug into what's going on here in the local community. We're already competing with the local industry. As you know, government can't pay as well as some of the private industry can, but we can develop our folks, and we've got some other programs that we need to just make people aware of and give them another option as far as a path to a career in cyber workforce. We want to leverage our enduring talent pipelines as well as understood process for hiring cyber professionals and relevant skills. So we're battling for the same talent. And what is really happening is that we need to find a way to be able to bring them in, and we need to be able to review the interns and the college students and even the folks that are coming in from the private sector, and be able to get them in places where they're going to matter most and where they're going to make the biggest impact. We're trying to find a ready pool of candidates and work with them to get them on board and create a collaborative ecosystem between Scott's cyber aid organizations and regional academic institutions, which is key. We need to work with local academic industries because we want to catch the students as they come out of college. A lot of the things that are driving that is the fact that our cyber workforce and the DoD is getting older. So what we need to do is we need to invigorate it with new talent. We need to bring young minds. We need to bring people with new ideas into the DoD and the cyber workforce and try to enhance the future and what we're trying to do as an organization. Professional development is also part of our mantra. We want to be able to develop a framework whereas we can develop the current workforce, not just focus on the new workforce and bringing those folks on board. We need to find a way to be able to enhance the talent that we have. One of the things that the council is concerned about is the education and training for the current workforce. I like to say that we need to invest in some of our graybeards as well as the younger people we bring into the cyber field. Investing in our current workforce not only makes us better, but employees may be less likely to leave our organization for other opportunities. This is key because I believe that if you feed into people, they will be more loyal and they will stick around and they will be anxious about the opportunities that are available to them in the future. For organization represented on the council, it's also about leveraging and sharing talent, training opportunities, as well as formalizing our internal and training and education programs. The Army has already grasped the concept by hiring education and training leaders to manage their programs. We're pretty much doing the same things here in the Cyber Leadership Council and here at Scott. With the amplified focus on cyber, increasing and improving our training and education programs will help prepare Scott's cyber workforce to meet today's needs as well as those in the future. I'd like to brag a little bit, if you wouldn't mind, indulge me a second, that the Cyber Council, the Cyber Leadership Council, has been able to get a lot of things done. There are 11 cyber organizations, DoD cyber organizations, that are involved in the CLC. Since we established the quarterly working group meetings and this quarterly leadership council meetings, the working groups actually meet bi-weekly. We actively participate in local college and university job fairs. We've developed an intern data card to track, monitor intern training and experiential activities when we bring them on board. We've identified cyber human resource and training managers within the 11 organizations. We've identified the hiring managers so that we can also find out how to focus in sharing talent across the DoD. We've identified funding authorities for cyber training certification and education programs. We've also identified Commerce cyber training and certification requirements. We've developed a collaborative training schedule to share training and professional development and education opportunities across Scott. We've created a marketplace website, which includes document libraries, calendars, et cetera, to increase our internal organizational collaboration. That's for the military side. We've also created a Facebook page as well as a LinkedIn page for college students and for those that are outside of the cyber community that are involved in the cyber workforce somewhere across the DoD to take interest if they're interested in coming to Scott and being able to be involved in some of the activities here. We've also partnered with AFCEA and the young AFCEAs to provide guest speakers, membership, mentors, and et cetera. We're also involved in their upcoming conference that they've got coming up in November. And lastly, we've established a memorandum of agreement between all the cyber organizations here on base to make sure that this is an enduring process. It's just not something that's driven by who's in the seat. We want to make sure this is long lasting and goes on for an extended period of time so that each of the organizations involved can benefit. Pending any questions, that's my last comment. And thank you again for the time.
Thank you, Dr. Clark. We've got big plans for you as we embark on our workforce transformation. I think you highlighted a lot of the things that we want to help bring in all the different government agencies. Thank you so much for your work and congrats again on your nomination. Next up, we have a familiar face. We have with us Suzette Kent, and Suzette was the former Federal Chief Information Officer at the White House. And she has been nominated for the Government Chief Executive Officer Award. And do we have Suzette? I think she logged in earlier today.
Yeah.
There she is. You look like you're like all official. You're going to be, it's like you're still at work.
Yeah.
I like it.
You know what? I shared with your team, I'm doing multiple video conferences today. So I appreciate the opportunity to make that work in the timeline here. So.
Great. Well, if you don't mind, just a few words.
Sure. Well, first, like many have said, thank you for asking me to join and have the conversation. It was kind of funny. I know, Tom, when you and Alyssa and I were exchanging messages, I was inquiring kind of what do you want me to cover? Because I think when we talked about, especially some of the things with the COVID response, it was the CIO and CISO councils and our team at OFCIO and our partners at GSA doing what we do every day, but on a turbocharged basis. For that particular, and I'm not using slides, but in that situation, we took the things that we normally do around conversations, collaborations, the exchange tools that we use, and the formats, whether they're guidance or other types of things, and moved them from things that happen in a normal business flow to everyday, top of mind, urgent attention. Gave them attention, and I. As I was thinking about this discussion, I thought about some of the individuals that did specific things, and I thought I'd highlight those. But it kind of sounds like a roll call of the CIOs. But including our partners at CISA, we turned around and began meeting daily, sometimes multiple times a day, as we pivoted to a substantial telework position. We used the tools and resources that were already in place to share rapidly and to share with each other. I remember, I'm using a Von Nogat EPA said, hey, you use this, and, Gun Deep at Labor shared other pieces. Bruce Nelson said, this is how we rolled out, our connectivity training. Jason Gray took point and highlighted many of the areas where we had barriers or upcoming activities that were going to cause the CIOs or CISOs to have to put their attention elsewhere when we needed it during the pandemic. And, with Renee Wynn, Maria wrote we went and focused on getting those out of the way. Dave Shive probably took every single request for some centralized tool or faster, expanding tools that were needed, whether that was telecommunications or other types of workflow and sharing tools. Almost, something new every single week. All agencies needed local health information. Jose Arrieta stepped up and said, hey, we're managing that anyway. Why don't, we let us, distribute that. And I could keep going through all the CIOs. We talked every day about the guidance and directives that were coming out so that teams in all the agencies were already prepped when those things came out to be able to take action, raised common issues for discussion. As somebody found something we didn't anticipate, that came back, through the daily process. What was very valuable, and some of your listeners today might be interested, is that there were a lot of person-to-person conversations with vendors. And I have to say thank you. I love talking to, Dave, Shive, and Maria Rote, but not necessarily at 2 in the morning. But I would say that same thing for many of the vendors. They were, very gracious in letting me call them at, 5:30 a.m. or, 1 in the morning, as we needed focus and priority, and we needed fluid movement of resources, both government and our vendor partners, to act, on certain things, whether it was policy, legal, or business. We moved on all of those very quickly, and we checked each other as the agency CIOs, had to scale things quickly. They talked much more collaboratively about what they were doing and how they were partnering with certain vendors. We leveraged things that we've done across one agency to another agency, on the CISO side, because we didn't have any patterns to compare some of the activities to. They were incredibly, collaborative. You've heard some of the folks today talk about data sharing, and we were able to take some of the things that were in its early stages for both data sharing and digital service delivery, and rapidly scale those. So, in summary, thank you for asking me to be here, but it's a representation of the phenomenal work that was done across, all the agency, technology, and data teams, and taking that to a turbocharged level, including our partners in industry. So thanks, Tom.
Yeah. Thank you, Suzette. And it seemed like during the entire administration, it was getting out these policies, and it almost reminds me of the Karate Kid. It's wax on, wax off. So we, TIC 3.0, we finally got that out, and then we really, really needed it. And congratulations to you, and it's the whole community. I know a lot of vendors chipped in, a lot of industry, and then the entire federal government. I have been through a few things in the federal government. We had the year 2000. We knew about that one for a while. We had 9/11, which was a lot of reorganization. I've never seen the government really on the IT side pull together like we all did on this effort. It was fantastic, and you were the federal CIO. So congratulations for all that, and I hope you're enjoying your retirement right now.
Well, obviously,
we'll see how temporary that is.
This is not a retirement, and I'm really excited as I listen to some of the other folks talking. I am doing some things with how we build our workforce of the future for data and AI, and it gives me an opportunity to really drill down on some of the things that I'm incredibly passionate about. But, as you said, it was a community effort, and it's not over. It's still going. Yeah. And, much appreciation, because the results that were achieved, we're also experiencing them. We haven't had any disruptions of service, and have been able to continue operations at the highest level for the longest period.
Well, congratulations, and we'll be seeing you shortly, I'm sure, in the near future. Thank you. Okay, thank you for your presentation, Suzette. It's always a pleasure to hear from you. Up next, Laura Zachmary. And Laura, I am hoping I did your name justice.
You did a great job.
The Deputy TBM. Thank you. Laura is the Deputy TBM Program Lead in the Office of Government Policy at GSA. And Laura is She's one of these, was nominated for the IT, Emerging IT Future Leader Award. And I know you've gotten a lot done already in your career. And of course, part of it is that. And then now you've got to live up to these expectations that, you know, as you progress in your career to kind of keep it up. But thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I am really, really honored. I was not expecting to be nominated. It's my first nomination for an award in the government, so I'm very honored. Also, tough act to follow. You guys had to put me after Suzette. Come on, guys. As you said, I'm Laura Sackmary. So I am the TBM lead right now for the Technology Business Management PMO at GSA. Say that 3 times fast. So I run our COP, our community of practice, which started out when I first got to government, about 16 people. We now have 650 members 3 years later. So I work very, very closely with OMB's Office of the Chief Information Officer, OFPP Procurement Policy, and OFFM Financial Management to kind of push TBM across all 24 CFO Act agencies. But today, I'm actually going to talk more about our work surrounding organizational change management for government-wide policy adoption. So originally this was intended to be only useful for TBM practitioners, but through the course of the work, we kind of realized that we could scope it a little bit differently and make it more applicable to almost any OCM initiative. If you go to the next slide. Thank you. So I could talk for 30 minutes about TBM, but I'm going to try and cap myself and not do that. But for those of you that don't know what technology business management is it is a discipline and a framework that kind of enables IT organizations to run more like a business. So what I mean by that is that the focus is more on the IT services that you provide and the value that you bring. So we kind of always talk about the black box of IT spending. No one really knows how much we're spending on IT, which is not great from a citizen standpoint. If anyone asks an agency about, you know, how much we're spending on IT, we can't answer it. So it kind of turns things into a more meaningful discussion. But one thing that we realized very quickly is that TBM was kind of stalling at a lot of agencies, and we couldn't figure out why. We were providing them with resources, we were giving them data trainings and, you know, mapping templates and all of this excellent work, but it just couldn't get off the ground at a lot of places, and we couldn't figure it out. So we kind of went on a roadshow and we talked to different agencies, and we were like, what's the problem? The problem is that no one was really employing a change management plan. And I know change management kind of gets buzzwordy these days. People are like, oh, what is that? Do we really need it? It's just another paperwork exercise. But for an initiative like TBM that is so broad, you really, really need the buy-in from all of your executives. And if you don't have that, you're kind of doomed to fail from the start. So we set out to create our OCM model. If you go to the next slide. Thank you. So while this kind of speaks to TBM, it is also broad enough to kind of be applied to pretty much any change initiative. So the OCM for TBM tactics are kind of organized into these 4 large steps, which are identify, define, implement, and refine. So all of the frameworks, however, do start with the first step, which is on the left, which is you have to create that case for change. If you can't tell your executives why we need TBM, no one's going to fund your project, right? So this initial step is kind of to assess and determine the correct approach for applying proper OCM tactics. While it's kind of done at the start of any change, it should be kind of reassessed while you go on. So the listed steps on the side, so the identify, define, those are all color coded, and they're kind of, we did this so they align to business best practices. So they align to ProC, they align to Lean Six Sigma. So our idea was never that we don't want you guys to reinvent the wheel. So if you're already using an OCM best practice, this should not look too different to you. So these steps, again, can be repeated multiple times, kind of depending on the number of phases that you need to complete your work. But the result of all of this, of having an OCM plan, is on the left, is that you create that sustaining change culture. So that's kind of a culture that continuously monitors, communicates, improves the organization's processes. So that was really what we were setting out to do. Also, another point is that, and this is the one that I think people don't realize, OCM should run cohesively to your existing project plan. So it shouldn't be a burden. It should not be a paperwork exercise. It should be something that complements your existing plan. So we actually recommend that when you're building out your project plan for something broad like TBM, that you kind of build your OCM plan into your project plan at the same time. So they kind of complement each other. So if you go to the next slide. So we created some gov-wide resources for our 650 agencies to use. So if you go to the next slide, I'll show you. So our best practice instructions. Next slide, sorry. Thank you. So we created a set of about 8 modules that agencies can use. These cover everything from kind of marketing the value proposition to kind of how to measure change successfully. So measuring change is hard, right? People are like, that's not quantifiable. How do I know that I've actually been successful? So we actually came up with some ways to actually quantify your change success. So these resources all link together in our more traditional OCM guide, which is on the next slide. So we created this, yeah, next slide. Sorry. Thank you. Oh. Well, I'll keep talking to it. We created a OCM guide that's more traditional. It's about 10 pages. And it kind of speaks to all of those resources that I just listed before. So those best practice instructions. So it kind of goes into, you know, when you should employ each of these modules, how to employ them, what challenges you might face, and how you can kind of knock down those barriers. So this guide is kind of more traditional. It's for those folks that really need something to get their program kind of kicked off. And then our final one is the last slide, is our OMB Max portal. And I had to go back to my HTML coding days from my MySpace days to get this done. So that was a trip for me. We all know OMB Max is not the greatest portal. It's not the greatest place to share information. However, for our community, it is the only government-wide platform that we can use. So we decided to kind of create a more user-friendly view of the best practice and OCM guide that I just showed you beforehand. So here the community can actually go onto Max and kind of cull down the resources that they need and directly download them. So it kind of seems repetitive having all of these resources in 3 different mediums, but you sometimes want to have things duplicative like that because you need to meet your stakeholders where they're at. So we kind of followed the idea that you have that friend that you can text, you have that friend that you can call, and then you have the friend that you only email. So if you really want to be successful in getting your project, you know, off the ground, sometimes you do have to do kind of duplicative things to reach the audience that you're looking to reach. So overall, we've gotten a lot of good feedback from the community on all of this. We held some office hours on it. We measure how many people are pulling down resources from Max and things like that. So we're very proud of the work. Last slide. So I just want to say thank you again for the nomination. I really appreciate it. I do have to give a shout out to my team. They've never let me down, and I don't think I would have been able to get any of this work done or off the ground without them. If you guys have any questions or you'd like to join the Federal Technology Investment Management Community of Practice, please reach out to the ftimcop@gsa.gov page. And thank you all again for your time. I hope I kept it close to 5 minutes. I know we're a little bit over.
Yeah, so. You did a great job, Laura, and I might have to borrow your one statement, meeting stakeholders where they are. I think that was important, and as a very Atarkian type of comment. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just made that up, but yes. Thank you, Laura. That's fantastic. Next, we'll be hearing from one of our digital experience nominees, Catherine Chan. And Catherine, and this is very, 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 very important. And I think everybody does important work, but this really hits home to a lot of people on the emotional side. It just thinking about it upsets me. But she is the director of the Office of Trafficking in Persons over at HHS. And congratulations, Catherine, on your nomination. And we look forward to hearing from you.
Tom, thank you so much. Thank you for this nomination. We're very humbled to be part of this group, and we're a very small office within HHS, mostly of social workers and public health professionals and researchers. So we feel very fortunate to be part of this community. A little bit about the Office on Trafficking in Persons. I'm not going to go through this entire slide, but just pointing out that our mission is to protect victims and survivors who've experienced forced labor and commercial sexual exploitation. To give you a sense, while there isn't a good prevalence number globally or in the US, last year the HHS funded National Human Trafficking Hotline identified more than 11,000 cases of trafficking. More than 10,000 victims and survivors directly called into the hotline seeking services. And this is an issue that impacts every single state and US territory, involving public health officials, law enforcement, child welfare, and many other sectors of the community. So our main functions are to protect victims, to prevent trafficking, and then to use and leverage data to inform our research policies and programs. And the service that we've been nominated for, we modernize the way we issue HHS certification and eligibility letters to foreign national victims of trafficking who may be eligible for refugee resettlement services. So we've been doing this for nearly 20 years. This is the first time we've identified an IT solution to strengthen, reduce the burden for stakeholders and case managers and attorneys and survivors, and to increase our speed in processing these cases. So if you look at this slide here, you'll see just in fiscal year 19 alone, we processed more than 1,000 letters, and you'll see the breakdown between adult and child victims of trafficking. And then if you specifically look at the number of letters that we've issued to children, that increased dramatically over the last few years. And in 2019, you see a 91% year-over-year increase. So let me just give you a quick case study on a typical case that came in just the last couple of weeks that reached my desk. We got a call in from an emergency room in a hospital somewhere in the Midwest in the country. And the nurse was calling about a 15-year-old child that came across her cases for that day, and she had bruises internally, externally, and long story short, enough indications that the child had experienced trafficking. And there is this federal law that anytime a federal, state, local official comes across a potential victim of trafficking, they need to refer that case to us. In previous years, we didn't have the capacity to process so many cases annually. And then you'll see the reason there's a spike in 2019 is because of this technology solution. And I just wanted to give you a sense of before our Shepherd system that we developed, which is an online case management system, we processed everything physically, manually, printed out all the case files, so 900 case folders stacked on my desk. At certain times, we had pending caseloads of 200 to 300 cases. So when that call from the emergency room came in previous years, it could have potentially been buried under stacks of paperwork without a flag that this was a emergency case. There was little to no security of sensitive victim information, so that nurse would have had to download one of our forms, filled it out, sent it over email through a secure password, and then email us with another email with what the password is if she knew how to protect the document accurately and follow the instructions. And then there would be weeks of follow-up time where we would try to find case managers on the ground to provide the housing, food, legal services, and other basic needs of this patient once she was released from the hospital's care. So we developed this online case management system with many, many partners. Called Shepherd, because we wanted to find a way, faster and streamlined way of shepherding data for these types of cases. At the top of the screen, you'll see just a snapshot of a screenshot. When you come in as a requester, you can immediately, securely upload information, upload documents. We'll get an automatic notification if it's if the case requires expedited review. The narrative is there. All the case notes and back and forth with staff are recorded in the system. Previously, we would have one Excel file where one case manager would have version control, save it, then someone else would input information. And what this has meant for us, you'll see in terms of streamlined processes, we're saving up to 10 hours of time per case. So let's say last year we processed about 900 child eligibility cases. That's 9,000 hours that we've saved, whether it's staff time or one FTE was on this. It was 4 years worth of time that we've been able to save. Improve security around data protection, improved data management. So now when we get data calls from other federal agencies or Congress, we're able to pull up case trends, victimization trends, share them with law enforcement partners, share them with case management organizations on the ground. And it's also improved user experience because now they can go in the system, automatically know what the status of their case is, communicate easily without dialing into a desk line that maybe a staff person is around to answer it or not. And then very soon there'll be online verification where a survivor of trafficking or case manager can go online. A benefit issuing agency can go online immediately to access the information. And then there's also increased visibility, collaboration, potential for interoperability with other systems in the future. And with that, thank you again for the nomination. We could not have done this without the Office of the CIO at ACF, REI Systems and TISTA, and then many of our other federal and non-government partners who help to provide input into the development of the system.
Thank you, Catherine. Spectacular work. This is why IT, you're bringing to life why IT is so important for the federal government in delivering service to people that live here. This is just fantastic work. Thank you. Congratulations again. Next up, we have with us Derek Weeks, and Derek was nominated for the Industry Executive of the Year Award. He's the Vice President at Sonotype, but his other little title, which I'm sure he'll talk a little bit, is he's co-founder of something called All Day DevOps. And I have to give Derek a little credit. He was the one that basically shepherded us into our DevSecOps movement. This is a few years ago. I think we've done maybe 3 or 4 summits at this point. We worked with Mark Schwartz, who was at USCIS, but I never would have done it if it wasn't for Derek and a couple other influencers. So how are you doing today, Derek?
I'm doing great, Tom. I really appreciate the invitation to be here and the nomination as well for the work that we're doing in the community. So,
well, congratulations. Looking forward to hearing.
Yeah. So, yes. So I'm Derek Weeks. I'm Vice President at Sonotype, but I also spend a good amount of time in the community helping different organizations and government agencies learn about DevOps. And that's really a lot of what I wanted to talk about today. So one of the things that I've been privileged to work with Tom and his crew on over the years to help spread the word about this community effort is a mission that I've been on for the past 5 years. And that really started, if you go back to the origins of this idea around all-day DevOps, it was really, myself and a colleague of mine were going out and attending various industry conferences, and we wanted the opportunity to learn about DevOps, meet people from the community, learn about the latest ways to develop and release software and digitally transform organizations and culturally transform organizations to new state-of-the-art DevOps practices. But when we'd go to this conference, we could meet, one person from the Navy, 3 people from the Air Force, 2 people from the IRS, someone from HHS. And in these conversations, we learned fascinating new things about what these agencies are doing, what different DevOps practices are doing throughout their organizations, agencies, or communities. But we also, when we met these people, like, meeting a friend of mine at USPTO, he would say, we have 600-700 people in our organization that are involved in our DevOps practice. And there's no way for us as an organization to get that many people engaged in a conference, in an opportunity to learn about DevOps. So my friend Mark and I co-founded something called All Day DevOps 5 years ago. This year on November 12th will be our 5th anniversary conference. This is a conference that, as you're seeing on the screen, runs for 24 hours all day on November 12th this year. We have over 180 speakers participating in the conference. It's absolutely free to attend. It's online, and it's been online since the inception of the conference, because we knew that, you know, one thing, if you wanted to attend a conference or get an education in this space from the experts around the world, that you would need to pay for a plane ticket, pay for hotels, pay to go to a conference, you know, and only a few people from an organization could go. So this last year, we had organizations with over 4,000 employees attending the conference. Northrop Grumman was one of these that came in last year, had over 700 people participate in the conference the day of. And the reason that they can do this is, one, it's online, it's totally free, you can access it from anywhere. We not only have the presentations online, but we have all of the speakers online. We have a Slack workspace where you can answer or ask any questions you want to of the community. And it was really like this experience where we had over 40,000 people last year participate in this conference. Over the life of the conference, in the 4 years we've already run it, over 100,000 people have participated in the all-day DevOps experience, including workers within the government and within government contractors and systems integrators that have participated. We have a government track within the conference, so we've had people from USPTO and HHS and the Air Force and the IRS and Navy and all sorts of different agencies participate in this as speakers, as well as attendees of the conference. So really, you know, the work that we're doing this year is especially important because we partnered up with Tom and ATARC to fully develop the government track. And we know that there's lots that people can learn about DevOps and continuous delivery, modern infrastructure like Kubernetes, leading edge operations like site reliability engineering, or even chaos engineering within your organizations. And you want to learn about that, but you also say, you know, government's a little different. We operate a little differently, and we want to learn from people that are in our shoes. So Tom and his team are helping us to develop and pull together the agenda for the conference this year, specific to the government track. And I think this is just, it's a really great learning opportunity for the community out there. And this is really something Tom knows. I'm super passionate about this and bringing people together. And this idea that, you know, we've gone from being able to reach one person or 3 people at an agency to say, literally invite your whole agency. So someone like Nick Shalon, you know, was on last year, sent a video to all of the US Air Force DevOps team and said, here's an opportunity to everyone should register for this because there's no restrictions on participating. And I think that's really, you know, where the value comes through in the community. And also I appreciate the nomination for the award in this space for the work, because we're simply trying to reach as many of you as possible that want the education and want a free, convenient way to access it for your entire agency. So
great. Well, thank you so much for that, Derek. Really appreciate your time. I mean, you're just give and give and give. And this is just an incredible event, and we're happy to help you in some small way. But thank you very much. Congrats.
Absolutely.
My friend.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you. That was fantastic. We are altering our order just a little bit to help out our government colleagues here. Next up, we have Maria Rote, the Deputy CIO of the United States. And Maria, I know you're running a little late. I know you don't have too much time. Kind of an interesting year for you, to say the least. I know your agency at the time, the SBA, you did the CDM pilot, you did the TIC pilot, and boy, and then you modernized your infrastructure, and then it's back to that Karate Kid analogy again, wax on, wax off, and then you had to process how many, $700 billion worth of loans. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
And congratulations.
Thank you, Tom, and thank you for the nomination, and congratulations to all the nominees for sure. I know Suzette spoke earlier, and I'm hoping I didn't get hung up on the video call.
You're fine.
All right, I'm not, the video hung up on me. I just want to say thank you to you and all the, as well as congratulations to all the nominees. You know, Suzette talked earlier about the CIO Council and how they pulled together this year. And, you know, I want to give a shout out to all the public servants that took on the response to the pandemic across the federal government. You know, Suzette talked about the CIOs, and that CIO leadership across the board really made a difference in what we did as a federal government to respond to the pandemic. And it wasn't just transitioning seamlessly to telework, but it was all the concurrent response activities that the agencies had to take care of. You know, all those public servants, and with our vendor partners, of course, they were creative, they were innovative, and they worked tirelessly on response and recovery activities to support the American public as well as their peers across the federal government. And this was unprecedented, and I'd be remiss if I did not recognize them, Tom. I really want to do that. The work that they did, it was just phenomenal, and collaborating across the government and our state and local partners. You know, we've talked a lot about, you know, the work at SBA. You mentioned the CDM and the TIC, but at the SBA, the tens and hundreds of billions of dollars that we had to handle. We stood up because of the work we did around cloud, all the foundational work, all the work that we put into for 3 years of modernizing our entire infrastructure paid off when the pandemic hit. We actually launched 6 new applications at the start of the pandemic, and most of them were done in 8 days or less. And we were able to do that by leveraging microservices, leveraging the cloud-based solutions we already had in place, and really building onto that capability. And we used those tools and those software-based platforms that even they had AI already built into them, and we leveraged those capabilities. You know, our customer service hub, you know, I've always talked about that 360 view of the customer, SBA small business, as they move through and use SBA services. Well, we were able to move activities we had planned for later in the year and into next year. We moved them way to the left, and we executed on that. And we had tens of thousands, 10,000 emails at least coming in a day. And we were able to triage those, turn those into cases, deduplicate those, and get them out to the agents to be able to handle. And we use the built-in AI capabilities to do that and to turn those emails into cases. So we just weren't handling emails, and being able to support, you know, all the mechanisms where people are trying to reach the SBA. So it was, you know, just a ton of work. It was rapid information systems deployment. We scaled, and a shout out to all our vendor partners as well. And we, to get the bureaucracy out of the way and execute like we did, it was just really phenomenal. And it took the entire team at SBA, and it took also that village of CIOs across the federal government and Suzette, who were supporting us as well, to get through that lift of what we needed to do to get that money out to small businesses. So Tom, I just want to say we need to continue the momentum across the federal government, and I'm going to continue to push that as much as I can. And I just want to say thank you for the nomination, and a shout out to all the public servants this year for all the work they've done.
No, thank you, Maria. Really appreciate all your efforts through the years. I think we started working when you got on the FedRAMP program. It's like Maria is the person you put on all the hard projects, and she jumps in. I'll do it. So congratulations, and you're just giving. We won't even talk about your role right now, but I think that we can take a lot of the lessons that we learned in pandemic, and how do we might not have to roll an application out in 8 days, but maybe it should take less than 10 years. There's got to be some kind of happy medium there. So we'll look forward to working with you for the rest of this year and into the next year. Thank you so much for your service.
Thanks, Tom. Things might be hard, but they're not impossible.
Exactly.
Thanks, Tom.
Okay. No problem. Have a good day. I know you're into the next thing already. So, okay. Well, we're down to our final presenter, and then we get into our final project, and then we will get into the awards. And we're actually tracking, I think we originally scheduled this through 2. I think we're going we're tracking a little better than that. I think we'll be done about 1:30. So things are moving along. I hope this format has been good to you. But anyway, last but not least, we have Janelle Steele, who is presenting in place of Jen GITEC and over at NASA, and really interested to hear what you guys were doing. She's a deputy program executive over at NASA, and just always good to work with you all. And I've known Jen for, I think, since the dawn of Twitter. I think that's when we started to very early days. I think it was about 2008. But glad to have you. Glad to have you on, and congratulations on your team with this nomination.
Thanks a lot, Tom. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Janelle Steele. I'm the Deputy Program Exec for NASA's Small Business Innovation Research and Small Business Technology Transfer Program. Thanks again for the nomination. It's an honor to represent our program and our leadership team of Jen GITEC, Carlos Torres, Anna Cordray, and myself, and share our program's success in investing in workforce for mission impact. Next slide, please. As our name implies, our program funds small businesses to research, develop, and demonstrate early stage innovative technologies for use by NASA and industry. We're a fairly large program within NASA, and as such, incorporating change and new initiatives can be challenging. But in 2016, amid an opportunity to transform our program to become more business friendly, reduce our program complexity, and modernize our legacy technology, we laid out a strategic framework inclusive of our program's vision, mission, and goals. To realize our goals, the leadership team focused foremost on our biggest asset, I should say, our people. We invested in strengthening our team to prepare for future direction with the core values of transparency, collaboration, customer focus, and a commitment to success. Next slide, please. So our ultimate goal was to build and strengthen a motivated, cohesive, and diverse creative team. We bucketed our steps into 3 areas. First, under talent, we recognized that having a highly motivated team would be the cornerstone to our success. We prioritized providing opportunities for our existing team members through job rotations and skill development, and we filled critical skill gaps in key areas through talent strategy sessions we held amongst our leadership team to plan for those new hires. To encourage a cohesive team between the existing members and the new team members, we promoted a learning environment and invested in learning workshops, book clubs, and tools to aid group dynamics and relationships. Second, we doubled down on our deliberate focus on culture, enabling a culture of radical candor and experimentation, a willingness to take risk, and continuous improvement. This enabled the shift of our team members from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. Our leadership team was also challenged to shift from being managers to being coaches. We provided resources for growth through approaches like working groups where team members would be given tools, skills, and an understanding of how to integrate change into a program that's already functioning. These investments were made not only to address the immediate needs, but to build future leaders. Lastly, the program leveraged technology to help our workforce implement business strategy quickly. The leadership team actually walked the walk on customer focus, not just in tech, but also for new program initiatives, such as hiring the agency's first chief customer officer. We developed a more agile program and leaned out our processes, thereby reducing unnecessary burden on our team and allowing us to be more responsive to changing environments like what's been brought about by the current COVID-19 pandemic and last year when we had the government shutdown. Next slide, please. So I'm very proud to say that our investment has yielded many results, including a large program like ours being able to successfully launch several new initiatives. We have seen a shift in mindset, increased morale, and a reduced burden on the team and our small business partners. The team and the program are more prepared for future needs, and our people are better prepared for their future roles, be it at NASA or elsewhere. I like to end with a few lessons learned. The bottom line is that it's all about people. Empower your team at all levels. Get a commitment to shared values through coaching your team instead of using a top-down approach. Embrace collaboration. Keep your customer foremost in mind, and recognize that change takes time. Give people time to adjust and to adopt. Thank you, and thank you for your consideration of us for this award.
Thank you, Janelle. That was fantastic, and tell everybody I said hello. Really appreciate your efforts. Okay, we are headed to the actual awards. But before we do that, I'd like to thank all the nominees and all the presenters. Can we just get everybody that is on live? Can we get your video at least? I want to have like a round of applause around the country. There we go. Wow, this is unplanned. This is pretty impressive. If you can come on your video, everybody involved with this. I want to give everybody just a round of applause. You can do this at your house. Thank you. This is fantastic. If everybody can get on, we can actually maybe take a picture. We'll give it a couple seconds. Hopefully everybody is, there we go. This is practice in case you win. So fantastic, fantastic. So thank you to all the nominees. We really appreciate your efforts. One more final round of applause for me at least. Thank you. Okay, now you can go on. Just kidding. Anyway, thank you to all of our nominees, both the ones who were able to present, the ones that weren't. We couldn't get everybody today, but we got a lot of them. You really are doing amazing things for the government, especially in this year. We really see the power that the government can have in helping out citizens and internal constituents. It just means so. You can really just see the impact, and a lot of these presentations that came through. So anyway, our first award is going to be the Advancing AI and Data Analytics Award. The Advancing Artificial Intelligence and Data Analytics Award is going to recognize a federal government team leader for their demonstrable efforts to promote AI technology and innovation in the federal government as a whole, and for their methods to increase efficiency and reduce costs using cutting-edge AI technologies. This year, there were quite a few nominations, but ultimately, there was one that came out on top, and that is Avi Bender, Director of the National Technical Information Service. Congratulations, Avi. You can come on.
Hey, thank you. Can you hear me?
I can. Congratulations, my friend.
All right. So that's actually a pleasant surprise. Thank you. I've been nominated for a few things, but that is really a great honor both for myself personally and for the team. And again, as I mentioned, this is not something that we started about a year ago. It's been a really long journey, 4 years, and really have created something I'm very proud of. It's sustainable, and I'm particularly grateful, not just for my team, but also all the great federal agencies and the CDOs and the CIOs that we're working with right now for availing themselves of the service. So, wow, I really appreciate this. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for your service. We actually made this a surprise. So folks didn't really know it until it's about the last second we could possibly manage. We didn't want the cat to get out of the bag. And thank you so much for your service again. You've had an incredible career, and I know you're not done yet, but congratulations. Thank you, Abby.
Thank you. Thank you to all the other nominees. Thank you.
Great. Next up, we have a presenter. Her name is Jennifer Kenny Smith, and she is works for GitLab, and she's going to be presenting the next award. And how are you doing today, Jennifer?
I'm super great. This is awesome. Love being a part of this group. Love what you're doing, Tom and nominees. You guys are rocking it. So excited to be here.
And I love your background there. Is that like real? I mean, I need to work on that.
That is
that authentic.
That is real. Those are my books.
Fantastic.
Yes.
That's fantastic. Well, thank you for doing this for us, and I'm interested to see who wins.
Awesome.
Thank you.
So I have the honor of presenting the Advancing DevOps Award. This award will honor the efforts and achievements of a federal government individual or team operating within the DevOps space and successfully overcoming cultural, organizational, and technology implementation challenges while adopting DevOps tools and the methodologies to advance their agency's mission. That's a lot of work, I know. This year's award has had some stiff competition, but ultimately the winner won because of their DevOps as a Service implementation project. The winner of Advancing DevOps Award is, drumroll please, Christopher Christ, Chief of Operations and Development at U.S. Transportation Command. Congratulations, Chris.
Oh, all right. Yeah, thank you so much. That's I definitely wasn't expecting that. So this might be all over the place, but you know, as I'm sure a lot of you guys can imagine, in the field of IT, you know, a lot of times new changes can be challenging, and it gets people out of their comfort zones, and they need to move some things forward. They're operating outside of what they're familiar with, and again, you guys being in the government, there are some additional levels that we have to get through. So definitely a lot of people within U.S. Transportation Command that are helping us to move this along. My branch is continuing to grow, so I have a lot of brilliant people that are helping to move this along. So I definitely will have to let them know. I'm pretty sure this is they'll be pretty excited to hear about this. So thank you guys, you know, so much. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Congratulations, Chris. Looking forward to working with you in the future, and amazing. And thank you, Jennifer, for helping out here. And a little commercial note: we have a DevOps survey that we're working on, and GitLab really helped us with. So if you're in the government, you've probably seen it. It's like kind of like the census. You just want to get back to it, so we can help the government really understand where we are on DevOps. But and always good to see you, Jennifer. Thank you so much.
That was a good plug for census too. That was a good plug there.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Fantastic. And thanks, Chris. Congratulations again. The next award, we have a presenter, and his name is Bill Rucker. And Bill is going to present the Excellence in Cybersecurity Award. And how are you doing today, Bill?
Doing well, Tom. How about yourself?
I'm doing fantastic. And Bill we've been working with him for a while. He's been a longtime member of GITEC and a supporter. And, you know, I mean, just always a contributor to the community. I miss hanging out in person, but at least we get to see your face. I love your background. That's like another one of those, somebody's putting some thoughts into that. Are you in your home office today?
I am, yeah. We're my virtual world these days. But no, thanks, Tom. Appreciate the opportunity to be here today. Congratulations, obviously, to all the nominees as well as the winners that are being announced. And John Sprague from NASA, thanks for kicking it off for us this morning. Trustwave Government Solutions, obviously cybersecurity is our business. We're known as the #1 data protection provider across the government. DB Protect and App Detector Pro defend north of 50,000 data sources across the government today, and in the neighborhood of 500,000 scans where we're reviewing, monitoring, or actually pen testing data systems. So we're excited to be a part of this community. We have a big announcement this week around managed threat detection and response. And since cyber's our business, we're honored to be the ones announcing the Excellence in Cybersecurity Award today. The Excellence in Cybersecurity Award will spotlight a federal government individual or team who exemplifies excellence in government cybersecurity through contributions to programs that protect critical data and the systems. The award will recognize a thought leader who has developed and operationalized innovative strategies and programs to address government cybersecurity challenges. I'm happy to announce that the Excellence in Cybersecurity Award for the ATARC for 2020 goes to Brian Conrad. Brian is the FedRAMP Program Manager for Cybersecurity at the General Services Administration. A little bit about the background, and we'll turn over to Brian. Is the program manager for cyber. Brian has played a central role in the program's mission to promote and adopt secure cloud services for the government by providing a standardized approach to security and risk assessments. The primary liaison with the Joint Authorization Board, which is a critical authorizing body composed of CIOs from the Defense Department, DHS, and GSA. Under Brian's leadership, the program launched JAB Interact, an event where cloud service providers and JAB representatives can meet face-to-face in the service of increasing communications and collaboration, as well as accelerating authorizations and removing roadblocks. Please join me in congratulating Brian on the Excellence in Cybersecurity Award for ATARC 2020.
Thank you very much. I'm honored by the nomination and humbled by the award. This is a team effort with the folks that support us in the FedRAMP PMO. I've been in government less than 2 years, quite a lengthy resume behind that in the private sector, in the military. And it's nice when you transition out of the military to find a calling that helps, move the ball down the field with protecting the government, continuing to serve, and I'm honored to do that. And thanks again to ATARC for the award.
Okay, thank you, Bill Rucker, for presenting, and thank you, Brian. That was we're glad to have you here. There's Bill. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, John. Appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate it. Appreciate you. Next, we have with us, and we really thank Bill and our partners over at TrustWave. Like I said, they've been a great partner from the beginning of our journey in the nonprofit space. And for the next award, we're going to hear from our partners at Pluralsight, which we have already heard from before. But Duncan Hall. Hello, Duncan.
Hi, Tom. Thanks again.
I'll turn it over to you. No problem.
Yeah, thank you. So good afternoon, everybody. As I mentioned earlier, Pluralsight, we're the technology skills platform, and we've got the honor of presenting the Digital Experience Award. So the Digital Experience Award will be presented to a federal government individual or team for promoting exceptional citizen service experiences through the use of digital technology. They have implemented best practices to radically improve the experience of government and push the boundaries to build customer-centric human connections in our digital world. This year, the award had some stiff competition, but ultimately the winner won because of their incredible work and extremely important work on the Shepherd case management system. So the winner of the Workforce Innovation Award is Catherine Chon, Director of the Office of Trafficking in Persons, U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. Congratulations, Catherine. I will turn it over to you.
Wow, thank you so much for this award and this honor. Many of us working at the Office on Trafficking in Persons, we were service providers out in the field before coming into government, and we recall the frustrations of trying to navigate a government bureaucracy and all the processes. So it's been an honor for us to improve processes for now those we're serving from within government, and especially to make the lives and healing journeys of survivors of trafficking that much more streamlined and easier. So thank you so much for inviting us into this community with this honor and award. And special thank you to Gary Kaunde from REI Systems, our partner in developing Shepherd, and the many other partners who contributed to this inside of our office and across the federal government. Thank you so much, and we look forward to sharing this news with our stakeholders and the survivor community.
Congratulations, Catherine, again, and thank you also to Duncan for helping us out with that. Fantastic. Really, once again, that is why we do this. You know, that's why we're in government IT with projects like the Shepherd Case Management System. Next, we will hear from our partner over at ASRC Federal, and I'm really happy to have Yvette Grenier-Smith. She's a friend for a long time, and she's going to present the Workforce Innovation Award. How are you doing today, Yvette? Got you on mute, I think.
Yep. Sorry, doing great, stuck in the house.
I know. I can't wait till we can get out of socially distancing and try to get out and be social. It's been a crazy year, but always great to see you. Thank you. Thank you so much for doing this.
Yep. Thank you for allowing me. As you know, I'm a big supporter of ATARC. Again, good afternoon. My name is Yvette Grenier-Smith. I work for ASRC Federal. It's about a 7,000 person company focused on all things IT and engineering. But today I have the honor of presenting the Workforce Innovation Award. This award showcases outstanding achievement by a federal government individual or team in advancing reskilling, upskilling, and change management among the federal workforce to prepare employees for future work while aligning improved productivity with employee retention and satisfaction. This year's winner was nominated for their thought leadership and hands-on effort in successfully undertaking a multi-pronged effort across people, process, and technology to successfully transform into a more customer-friendly organization and furthering the agency's One NASA vision. I'm happy to announce this year's winner of the Workforce Innovation Award is Jennifer Gustatek, Program Executive of NASA's Small Business Innovation Research and Small Business Technology Transfer Program. Accepting on her behalf will be Janelle Steele, the Deputy Program Executive of this program. Congratulations, Jennifer, Janelle, and the whole team.
Thank you so very much. This is Janelle Steele. Yes, Jen is our program executive. Carlos Torres and Anna Cordray are a part of the team also. Really, really appreciate the award and the acknowledgement of the work that we've done to try to help bring folks together on a path to innovate and create processes that are streamlined and allow our unusually large organization to be able to shift and take advantage of change. So again, thanks so much for this award. We're honored to have been considered, and we will keep on our work to bring innovation into a government program.
Thank you, Janelle. Great work. And thank you, Yvette. It's always good to see you. Always good to see you. So thank you. Workforce Innovation Award. The next up, and these are rolling through. This is like the Academy Awards, except the presenters have been very modest. We haven't taken a lot of time. So we're rolling right through this really quickly. The next award, for the next award, I'm going to present Sanjay Sarder with SAIC. How are you doing today, Sanjay?
I'm doing great, Bill. How are you? Tom.
Yeah, I'm doing. Yeah, that's okay. It's been a brisk morning. I actually think of when I actually spent time with you when you were the CIO over at FERC, and I got to know you through GITEC. You know, I think you were always very active in the GITEC conference when you were with government, and you know that's how. I always loved the GITEC conference well before I started ATARC, but it's always a great place for collaboration, having these frank conversations that you need. And I always felt like I learned a lot from being at the conference generally, and then you know just learning a lot from you when you were in government, and now you've kind of carried that government. You've transitioned very, very, very smoothly over to industry, and congratulations on your career and all the great work you've been doing since you joined private industry.
Well, thank you, Tom, and yeah, absolutely, thank you for keeping ATARC going. ATARC is absolutely one of those great organizations where we can do this collaboration. So thank you for that. But today, good afternoon. My name is Sanjay Sardar. I am the VP of Operations for IT Modernization and Digital Transformation over at SAIC, and we have the honor of presenting the ROC IT Emerging Technology Award, also pronounced the Rocket Emerging Technology Award. SAIC is a leading federal systems integrator focused on IT modernization to better serve and protect our nation. We serve all federal, civilian, DoD, national security agencies with a focused emphasis on partnership to achieve and deliver on their missions. We're 25,000 employees strong, headquartered right here in Reston, Virginia, with offices all around the continental US and abroad. Today, the Rocket Emerging Leader Future Leader Award will celebrate a junior government staff member demonstrating outstanding ability to guide and inspire others in federal IT sector. Judged on their ability to inspire others to achieve success through collaboration, his or her impact on others, and the ability to act as an agent of change, helping to transform the culture of an organization. This year, the award had some very stiff competition, but ultimately the winner of the Rocket Emerging Future Leader Award held qualities such as resilient, entrepreneur, and accountable. She holds herself and others to high quality and timely results, even during overtask period. I am now honored to say that the winner of the Rocket Emerging Future Leader Award is Laura Zachmary, the Deputy TVM Program Lead for the Office of Government-Wide Policy and at General Services Administration. Congratulations to you, Laura. Your presentation was fantastic. Congratulations on the award.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I have a cat who's about to jump on screen. Sorry. I appreciate the nomination and the win. I couldn't have done this without my REI team. I have to give a big shout out. I have some of the most excellent contractors that anyone could ever ask for. Someone's grabbing the cat, sorry. So I think right now, especially during COVID, change is kind of the only thing that we can really count on. It's scary right now, but that's why we're kind of really pushing change management government-wide. It's something that OGP, my office, holds very dear to their heart. So we are here for anyone who is looking to have trainings on OCM, who's looking to, figure out how they can really make lasting change and get policy pushed through as fast and quickly as possible in the most successful way. So thank you again. I really appreciate it. Please reach out. We would love to have more people join the community. So thanks.
Congratulations, Laura. I wish you panned back further. I wanted to see that cat fight. I wanted to see that cat attacking you. That would have really been memorable.
Its name
Can
is
you pan out and show your cat?
Yeah, my friend came and got her, but yeah, the cat's name is Toaster, and he loves to be on screen. So
great. And thank you, my friend Sanjay. Hopefully, we'll be seeing in person before too long.
I hope so, Tom. Thank you again for doing this, and thank you for giving us the opportunity.
Thank you. No problem. Sanjay Sarder, another great awardee. And we are moving along. We couldn't have scripted it any better. Right at 1 o'clock is when I was hoping we would get through everything. And we have one more award, and it's a big one. And I will be reintroducing John Sprague. John? I believe John is going to do the presenting. There he is. Okay, you were scaring me.
Yes. Hey, I can hear you. Thank you.
Great. Well, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Tom, for our final award today. And I really enjoyed your Karate Kid reference earlier with Suzette and Maria. Now it's Cobra Kai. If you haven't seen that on Netflix yet, take a chance. Look at that. I will be presenting the Government Chief Executive Officer of the Year Award. The Government Chief Executive Officer of the Year Award will salute a federal government individual with demonstrated leadership and management expertise in the field of innovation and future trends. While this award was extremely hard to judge, ultimately we had a tie. It was extremely tight on this one. The winner of the award are our incredible Suzette Kent, former administrator and Federal Chief Information Officer at the Executive Office of the President, and Maria Rote, the Deputy Administrator and Deputy Federal Chief Information Officer at the Executive Office of the President. So let's get Suzette and then maybe Maria, if you guys want to say a few words.
I think you're on mute, Suzette.
I was congratulating Maria. Sorry, I was very excited. and saying thank you. And it's even more of an honor for it to be a tie, and I know that it was interesting. Maria, both as the leader of SBA, there were days she and I talked multiple times a day, every day during that process. And then Maria as the Deputy Federal Chief Information Officer and her continued leadership both inside the federal government and out is a fantastic partner. So thank you to this group for the recognition, and for the time that I talk, the recognition is to the CIOs. And I think you heard that in Maria's comments as well. The CIOs, the CISOs, the members of our council support community, and our vendors who rallied in an unprecedented way. And maybe through awards like this and conversations, we'll find ways to continue that quick motion and fantastic one-on-one collaboration inside government for all the things that are coming forward. And I'll pass that torch right over to Maria, if she's still with us.
She had to leave, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Maria had another meeting, but we ran a little bit late. But congratulations, Suzette and Maria, fantastic. You couldn't think of two better executives. And last, I actually misspoke. Last, but certainly not least, we actually have our Industry Executive of the Year award. And the Industry Executive of the Year is for an exceptional industry leader and innovator who's championed emerging technology adoption in the federal space and promoted close industry government collaboration to navigate the rapidly evolving technology ecosystem. And this could go to lots of different people. We have many people on our board that could have won an award such as this, but for this year, we have a very good winner. His name is Derek Weeks with Sonotype, and you heard from Derek earlier. Derek, can you come live? Derek Weeks. We lost Derek. Okay. All right. Derek unfortunately dropped. So, but Derek I think we just had his presentation, should be fresh in your mind. All Day DevOps. You know, he is one of the co-founders of that. And it's been a pleasure working with Derek. He has really helped us with the DevOps movement that we've had. It's now really DevSecOps. And congratulations, Derek. I think he had something else at 1 o'clock. So once again, Derek, if we can get Derek in the next couple seconds, we'll get him on. If my team can go hunt him down. And thank you all for joining us today. We want to thank our nominees, partners, and of course, John Sprague. John, why don't you pop back on for a second? I just want to give you a last round. I'm going to clap for you if we can. Thank you. Thank you for all your hard work. And, you know, just to really appreciate you, brother. I can't wait to see you in person when we get back. And, you know, we are scheduled for GITEC in May. Hopefully we can do some things there. And, you know, I do think, I don't know, just candidly, I think breaking out the awards is a good idea generally. Hopefully we can do it in person, but we got so much going on at the GITEC conference. I think we may have stumbled onto something. It's been kind of fun to do this. And it's been real fun to do this.
Yeah, it always is every year.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep. Anything else you want to add? Anything else you observed?
Just to say thank you. The presentations were awesome. You can see why the folks won those awards. I appreciate it very much. It was, as you saw on the one I just did, very stiff competition. You know, I don't think we've ever had a tie before. I think that was the first tie. It was so difficult. So thanks to everybody for helping. Tom, you and your staff are phenomenal. Thank you for setting all this up for us and making it possible.
Yep, no problem. It was hopefully all the effort was worth it. yeah, our team really, it was just a different kind of format than we're used to. I'll tell you what, moderating this thing is like, wow, it's like fast moving. So that's been fantastic. Thank you all for joining us today. I know it was a decently long program, but I think it was worth it. Hopefully you got a lot of great information. Once again, thank John Sprague and the team of board members who voted for this year's GITEC Awards. We hope to see you all on Thursday, our after lunch webinar series. And we are talking about, it's a CIO discussion with our friend Jonathan Album, who now works at ServiceNow. But he was a former federal CIO at USDA. It should be a great conversation. He does a great job with these, with these fireside chats. And of course, we have the newest Chief Information Officer at the U.S. Small Business Administration, as well as Michael Anthony, who's the Chief Information Officer at the National Transportation Safety Board. So anyway, thank you for participating, and we'll catch you on the next event. Thank you.